With an uneasy heart, Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others followed the yellow-scarfed strongman into the palace and saw Kui Heng drinking tea. With an uneasy heart, Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others followed the yellow-scarfed strongman into the palace and saw Kui Heng drinking tea. At this moment, they understood that the person in front of them was definitely not the former Lord of the Heavenly Court. That was because even the aura on the Lord of the Heavenly Court was far from being so vast. It was as if it contained everything. What kind of cultivation realm could be so powerful? Could it be that there was really a realm that surpassed the 12 Heaven Gate realms? 2. Facing such an unfathomable expert, these sect masters of the immortal Tao sects who were usually high and mighty were all deeply shocked. They only stood there with stagnant gazes and even forgot to bow. After a while, the Heaven Gate realm experts, led by Lian Heng and Qin Tang, came back to their senses and hurriedly bowed. Eternal Academy's Lian Heng greets Senior. Immortal Valley's Qin Tang greets Senior. Wang Qi of Origin Island greets Senior. At the same time that they bowed, the other dozen or so people at the 7th Heaven Gate realm realized what was going on and followed suit. Kui Heng did not care much about this. He put down the teacup in his hand and nodded slightly. He smiled and said, "There's no need to be so polite. You're all experts who have cultivated for a long time. You should have thought of your goal for coming to look for me this time. Why don't you just say it?" He had never liked to beat around the bush. It was better to be straightforward. Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others looked at each other and nodded. In the end, Lian Heng took a step forward and said respectfully, "Senior, it's like this. The intensity of this scarlet calamity is unprecedentedly powerful. I'm afraid the outer world is preparing to launch a large-scale invasion and intends to start an all-out attack on the Heaven Realm. Facing such a situation, we are powerless to stop it. Therefore, we want to undo the seal of the Lord of the Heavenly Court and use the power of the Lord of the Heavenly Court to resist the invasion of the outer world. However, our cultivation realms are ultimately limited. Although the restrictions that sealed the Lord of the Heavenly Court have weakened over a long period of time, it will probably take hundreds of thousands of years for our power to undo them. Senior's divine power is incomparably deep. Can Senior help us undo the seal of the Lord of the Heavenly Court so that we can resist the invasion of the outer world? If Senior is willing to personally deal with the outer world, we will be even more grateful." Since they had already confirmed that Kui Heng was not the Lord of the Heavenly Court, their main goal this time was to ask Kui Heng to help them undo the seal on the Lord of the Heavenly Court. Of course, if they could persuade Kui Heng to participate in the battle against the outer world invasion, it would naturally be the best thing. "All right." Kui Heng nodded slightly and smiled. "I understand your intention to resist the outer world invasion. However, I have a question. Does helping you resist the outer world invasion mean anything to me?" This question immediately stunned Lian Heng and the others. What were the benefits of resisting the outer world? As a member of the Heaven Realm, wasn't it the rightful thing to resist the outer world? Moreover, once the outer world invaded on a large scale, the characteristics of the Heaven Gate here would be occupied by the outer world. At that time, the local cultivators here would no longer have the chance to improve. They would completely lose the chance to turn the tables and could only be bullied forever. Was this reason not enough to resist the outer world? Why was there a point in asking? The sect masters of the immortal Tao sects were stunned. The yellow-scarfed strongman suddenly said, "Sect masters, when Immortal Venerable started cultivating, there was no Heaven Realm." As soon as these words were spoken, Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others immediately felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Their faces revealed disbelief as they looked at Kui Heng in extreme shock. Everyone felt as if their minds were buzzing, as if billions of lightning bolts had exploded at the same time. When he was cultivating, there was no Heaven Realm. When he was cultivating, there was no Heaven Realm. How ancient and powerful was this existence? Could this peerless expert be from the same era as the legendary founder of the Heaven Realm? This was too shocking. It was simply unbelievable. However, from the vastness of the power contained in the jade, this did not seem to be impossible. To such a supreme being, helping the Heaven Realm resist the invasion of the outer world did not seem to be very necessary. Moreover, What could they bring out to move such an existence? Treasures? Cultivation techniques? Clearly, neither was likely. What should they do now? Kui Heng stared at them and saw their shocked and conflicted expressions. He smiled and said, "Actually, if you want me to help, you just have to do one thing." Of course, he would not refuse to resist the invasion of the outer world. Not to mention that his disciples were in this star field, his current cultivation was also closely related to this star field. The rules of order he established were here, and the great Tao laws he wanted to communicate with were also here. Moreover, after successfully resisting the invasion of the outer world, he could deepen his communication with the great Tao laws of the heaven realm and greatly increase the speed of his cultivation. He could break through to the mid-stage soul formation realm in a shorter period of time. To Kui Heng, he had a very good reason to resist the invasion of the outer world. The reason why he said this to Lian Heng and the others was to let them know to cherish his help. Help that was too easy to obtain was often not cherished. This was human nature. Only by letting them cherish his help would they be willing to answer Kui Heng's questions. They still had to thank Kui Heng profusely. As expected, as soon as Kui Heng said this, Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others were overjoyed. They hurriedly nodded and said, "Senior, please speak. We will definitely do our best. We only hope that Senior can help us resist the outer world. I haven't been in this world for a long time, so I don't know much about the current situation of this star field." Kui Heng nodded slightly and said, "Tell me about the current situation here first. How many other star fields are there in this region? Also, tell me about the 6 heaven gates. If you can satisfy me, I'll naturally help you." "Thank you, Senior." Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others knelt on the ground, their hearts filled with gratitude for Kui Heng. In their opinion, Kui Heng's request was not a request at all. He actually gave them an easy way out so that they would feel more at peace after asking him for help. And that was because he did not want them to feel too burdened. After all, the information Kui Heng asked for was not very valuable to most immortal orthodoxes. Not many people would look at it in the scripture depository for millions of years. Now, using this information to exchange for the help of such a supreme being to resist the invasion of the outer world was simply too worth it. An ancient being who started cultivating before the formation of the heaven realm could be said to be a living fossil. He definitely knew countless ancient secrets. Could these new matters interest such an existence? Clearly not. What use did these new things have for an ancient being like this? Obviously none. This meant that the ancient supreme being had actually directly promised to help them. How benevolent and selfless was this? The entire heaven realm was blessed to have this supreme being. For a moment, Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the masters of the more than 10 other immortal orthodoxes were extremely excited. They were filled with admiration and gratitude for Kui Heng. Lian Heng took the initiative to step forward and ask, "Senior, where do you want to start understanding? The inheritance of my eternal academy is extremely ancient. It can be traced back to the beginning of the heaven realm. Our ancestral master even sat beside the God of creation and listened to his teachings. Although our academy's inheritance was severely affected by the Scarlet Calamity 500,000 years ago, we still retained many secret books that can provide you with very detailed information." The other sect masters of the immortal Tao sects had no objections to him taking the initiative to step forward. After all, the Eternal Academy was indeed the oldest and had the deepest foundation among them. It was most suitable for them to stand up and answer Kui Heng's question. It's really not easy for such an ancient sect to survive until now. Kui Heng nodded and praised before asking, "How many years has it been since the heaven realm was established?" "Senior, it should have been more than 9 million years, Lian Heng said respectfully. "According to the records of our academy, 9 million years ago, a supreme god descended from the sea of stars. He created the world here, demarcated the heavens, divided the myriad worlds, sorted out the endless starry sky, and created the central world that ruled the myriad worlds. After that, he built the door of heaven and brought the fated living beings of the myriad worlds to the heaven realm. He also established the boundless Tao and taught the great Tao and myriad wonderful techniques. He created the cultivation method of the 21 realms of the immortal and mortal worlds and pointed out the method to break through the 12 heaven gates. Originally, the cultivation methods in this place were strange and extremely complicated. There were often battles between cultivators because of disputes over the advantages and disadvantages of each path. Ever since then, the cultivation methods of the myriad worlds and endless starry skies gradually became unified. As time passed, the 21 realms of the immortal and mortal realms and the 12 heaven gate realms were used as the division of cultivation realms, avoiding many unnecessary battles. The Eternal Academy was also established at that time. Our ancestral master called that era the primordial era. It was also the most peaceful era in this sea of stars in the past 9 million years. According to the books, although the 6 starfields in that era also had boundaries, they were all connected and there were normal starfield paths. Moreover, there were enough heaven gate characteristics in that era, and there was no upper limit to the number of times one could cross the heaven ladder. There were many choices to choose from the heaven gate, and there was no battle for the great Tao between different starfields. It's precisely because of this that there were endless experts in that era. There were many experts who crossed the third heavenly ladder. The entire star sea was a scene of vitality and all living beings were competing. At this point, Lian Heng could not help but reveal an incomparably envious expression and sigh. That was really an incomparably glorious and dazzling era. Unfortunately, to us in this era, it's only a legend. Ever since the creation god left and the boundless Tao realm closed, everything has changed. It's impossible to return to the past. Thank you for reading on my box novel. The information Lian Heng described was rather new to the many sect masters of the immortal orthodoxies present. The information Lian Heng described was rather new to the many sect masters of the immortal orthodoxies present. Especially the description of the God of creation, and the boundless Tao. To most immortal orthodoxies, they basically only knew these names and knew very little about their actual situation. This information was too ancient. The description of the relationship between the 6 starfields when the era was first established made everyone envious. An era where there was no need to fight or snatch, where one could choose to attack the heaven gate at will. How beautiful and desirable was this? Unfortunately, such a beautiful and glorious era can only be seen in books now. They would never have the chance to experience it themselves. Kui Heng nodded slightly and praised with a smile, "Very good, this information is not bad. You can elaborate based on the eras to sort out the changes in the heaven realm from the beginning era to the present era. It can be considered as setting a complete framework. Let's continue. What about after the primordial era?" "Thank you for your praise, Senior." Lian Heng was overjoyed when he heard this. He nodded and said, "After the initial structure of the world was established, it was an era where order gradually began to collapse. The ancestral master of my sect was part of the era called the era of Chaos Euro. In his opinion, Kui Heng was a supreme being that was even older than the heaven realm. To obtain the praise of such an existence was indeed a very happy thing." Next, as Lian Heng described, the situation of this era of chaos began to gradually appear in front of Kui Heng. After the primordial era ended, although there was no longer a god of creation above everything, most people still maintained their original lifestyle and lived in peace because of their long-term stable habits. Unfortunately, this situation did not last long. Conflicts quickly erupted. After people crossed the heavenly ladder one after another, they were surprised to discover that the characteristics of the heavenly ladder contained in the heaven gate had actually changed. They could no longer break through indefinitely like before. A heavenly ladder characteristic could only allow 12 people to transcend within 10,000 years. The appearance of this restriction directly triggered many levels of conflict. First was the conflict between the different star fields. Since the characteristics of the heavenly ladder could only be obtained by 12 people every 10,000 years, no one would be willing to let people from other starfields snatch these 12 spots. However, there was only one characteristic of the heavenly ladder in every heaven gate. If one wanted to cross the second and third heavenly ladder, they had to attack the heaven gate in other starfields. This caused a conflict. Battles often erupted, and casualties happened from time to time. However, It had not developed to the extent of a battle of the great Tao like now. Other than the conflicts between different starfields, there were also huge conflicts in the same starfield. It was mainly because of the 12 heaven gate realms. The core contradiction was still the limits of the heavenly ladder characteristics. Within 10,000 years, only 12 people could transcend the heavenly ladder. Whether it was to transcend the first heavenly ladder, the second heavenly ladder, or even the third heavenly ladder, one had to compete for the same 12 spots. And obtaining these 12 spots was not something that could be decided with just a few words and discussion. It was fought through battle, killing, and scheming. There were countless methods. The goal was only to kill their competitors and finally successfully enter the heaven gate and cross the heavenly ladder to advance their cultivation realm. This era had no order and was incomparably chaotic. The 6 star fields were filled with killing. It could be said to be an incomparably dark era. It was also in this era that the number of experts in this sea of stars plummeted. By the time the era of chaos ended, compared to the end of the primordial era, there were only less than 1/10 the number of new Heaven Gate realm experts. As for those who had crossed the heavenly ladder, there were even fewer. And the reason why the era of chaos could end was because of the appearance of a person. The Lord of the Heavenly Court. He was just a peak expert who stood at the end of the 12 Heaven Gate realms. He had also followed the creation god in the boundless Tao realm. He was the closest listener to the creation god. Therefore, the Lord of the Heavenly Court was also the person who understood the various theories taught by the god of creation the most. Of course, he was also the person with the highest cultivation realm and strength. Perhaps sensing that the damage caused to the heaven realm by the chaotic dispute was too great, the Lord of the Heavenly Court took the initiative to stand up and change everything. He first took out many of the treasures he had as his foundation and joined forces with many immortal orthodoxes, including the Eternal Academy, to establish a perfect and strict organization. This was the Heavenly Court that people later became familiar with. As the Heavenly Court had gathered almost all the top experts of the heaven realm, it had a strong enforcement ability. Naturally, they had the power to make others listen to their orders and obey their rule. Hence, under the rule of the Heavenly Court, the 12 candidates to cross the heavenly ladder every 10,000 years were no longer decided through chaotic battles. Instead, they would obtain the qualifications to cross the heavenly ladder through the Heaven Gate trial. The Heaven Gate trial would be held 12 times within 10,000 years. The 12 people who could cross the Heaven Gate would be chosen in various ways through the trial. If they had any objections to the person chosen in the end, they could also directly question the Heavenly Court. At first, this selection method naturally encountered quite a bit of resistance. However, the Heavenly Court had already gathered more than half of the power of the entire starfield. No one could resist it and they could only choose to accept this system. In addition, after those who passed the Heaven Gate trial successfully crossed the heavenly ladder, they would be invited by the Heavenly Court and asked if they were willing to join the Heavenly Court. In the end, most of them naturally chose to join. As the beneficiaries of this system, they naturally supported it. As time passed, the Heaven Gate trial became a publicly acknowledged system. The voices of opposition gradually decreased until they disappeared. The era of the Heavenly Court had begun. However, the Heaven Gate trial only eliminated the conflict within the starfield. If they wanted to transcend the subsequent levels of the Heaven Gate, they had to go to the other starfields. Therefore, the Heavenly Court era was actually an era where the power of one's own starfield was gathered to attack other starfields. Due to the existence of the Heavenly Court, this starfield was the first to eliminate the internal conflict and gather their strength. Therefore, they had a huge advantage in external battles and easily occupied a foreign Heaven Gate. This gave the experts of the Heavenly Court a fixed way to transcend the second heavenly ladder. On the other hand, the Heavenly Court was still fighting a third foreign realm, which was the outer world that was currently corroding the heaven realm. At that time, both sides had wins and losses and they fought back and forth. This side won most of the time. Every time they won, a group of people would transcend the second or third heavenly ladder. As a result, the starfield ruled by the heaven realm and the Heavenly Court entered an era of rapid development. It was also an era where the power of the heaven realm was like the midday sun. Many of the sect masters of the immortal orthodoxies present were experienced people from that era. Most of them had obtained the qualifications to transcend the heavenly ladder through the Heaven Gate trial, which was why they had their current achievements. At this moment, when they heard Lian Heng telling the story of this era, they could not help but sigh. These were all their memories. Unfortunately, this era was broken by the appearance of the 9 heavens. Lian Heng's tone became emotional. They are all experts who have crossed the 3rd heavenly ladder and even have extremely extraordinary methods. They even know all the weaknesses of the Lord of the Heavenly Court. Facing the 9 heavens, even the Lord of the Heavenly Court had no way of winning. In the end, he was sealed by the 9 heavens of the outer world, and the Heavenly Court directly collapsed. The era of the Heavenly Court also ended. Next is the Scarlet Era we're experiencing now. It's also jokingly called the Scarlet Apocalypse Era by some people. According to the 9 heavens of the outer world, this is a tribulation and punishment sent down by them on behalf of the God of creation. They, the 9 heavens of the outer world, claim to be followers of the God of creation. Thank you for reading on my box novel. They, the 9 heavens of the outer world, claim to be followers of the God of creation. They, the 9 heavens of the outer world, claim to be followers of the God of creation. Kui Heng could not help but be a little surprised when he heard this. The 9 heavens of the outer world and the heaven realm here were already in a situation where they would fight to the death. He did not expect that they would actually use the name of the God of creation. This was a fight for pride now. However, their claim might not be fake. According to Lian Heng's description, in the primordial era, the heaven realm with the God of creation was actually the absolute core of the 6 heavenly regions. Whether it was this starfield where the heaven realm was located or the other 5 starfields, they all respected the God of creation. They also cultivated the 21 realms of the immortal and mortal realms passed down by this God of creation. Moreover, in the outer world, there were also legends that the 9 heavens supreme venerates were actually followers of a supreme being. Even their actions of invading other starfields were following the will of that supreme being. This coincided with the saying that the 9 heavens of the outer world had sent down tribulation and punishment on behalf of the God of creation. Perhaps there was really a connection. How authentic do you think their words are? Kui Heng asked. They said that they invaded the heaven realm to send down tribulation and punishment on behalf of the God of creation. This should be fake. Lian Heng seemed to have an answer in his heart long ago. He said with a solemn expression, however, the saying that they once followed the God of creation might be true. Then, he told them some of his guesses. According to the records of the Eternal Academy, although countless people listened to the Tao preaching of the God of creation in the boundless Tao realm, only 36 people were allowed to follow him. These 36 people each had extraordinary backgrounds. Some were formed by the first wisp of vital energy born at the beginning of the heaven realm, some were spirits of the first stone, or the first cloud, and so on. They were basically all innate divine beings of the heaven realm. The Lord of the Heavenly Court was the first among the 36 people. It was said that he was born with the will of the heavens and was an existence that stood at the peak of the 12 heaven gate realms. Although some of the other innate divine beings had also reached the 12th heaven gate realm, their strength was still incomparable to the Lord of the Heavenly Court. He was undoubtedly the strongest among them. The other 35 were also willing to follow behind him and follow the God of creation. However, after the God of creation left, this connection gradually thinned. Coupled with the fact that the 6 starfields were gradually estranged, the 36 divine beings finally scattered and headed to different starfields. Among them, 7 went to the starfield adjacent to the heaven realm, which was the current outer world. The exact information about these 7 divine beings was already impossible to verify because it had been too long. However, the Eternal Academy was still a living fossil-like inheritance after all, and it still recorded the information of 3 of the divine beings. One was said to be the first stone to form a Tao when the heaven realm was established, one was said to be the first wisp of turbid qi to form a Tao when the heaven realm was established, and one was said to be the outline of the border when the heaven realm was established. Coincidentally, 3 of the 9 heavens of the outer world had extremely similar backgrounds to these 3. They were heavenly venerates sure, heavenly venerate Chen, and heavenly venerate Guo. However, in the legends of the outer world, they did not originate from the creation of the heaven realm. Instead, they were born when the world was established. Even the legends were similar. It was just a different word. From this inference, it was very likely that the other 6 of the 9 heavens had similar backgrounds. The so-called 9 heavens were indeed 9 of the 36 people who followed the god of creation back then. If their identities are true, then they probably didn't invade the heaven realm just to fight for the heaven gate, Kuiheng said thoughtfully. To the 9 heavens, who had long crossed the 3rd heavenly ladder, it was clearly not worth it to deliberately spend more than 1,000,000 years or even longer to attack the heaven realm. They probably had other plans. There should be another plot. Lian Heng nodded in agreement with this guess, but he could not give an answer. But with their cultivation realms, what can the current heaven realm have for them to plot against? From the description just now, Kuiheng had already learned the cultivation realm of the 9 heavens. 6 of them were on the 11th heaven gate realm, and 3 were on the 12th heaven gate realm. This was even stronger than the description he had obtained from Divine Lord Yu Tian. With Divine Lord Yu Tian's realm, it was naturally impossible for him to hide anything from Kuiheng. It was most likely because Divine Lord Yu Tian was only at the 6th heaven gate realm and might not really understand the true realm of the 9 heavens. Perhaps it's for the boundless Tao realm. Qin Tang suddenly said, "There are records in my immortal valley. Although the boundless Tao realm has long closed and disappeared when the god of creation left, it's actually still in the heaven realm. It's just that it's extremely difficult to detect." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present turned to look at him. All the sect masters of the immortal orthodoxies looked at him with incomparably shocked expressions. Boundless Tao realm. This was the place where the founder of the heaven realm preached the Tao, and also the place where he taught the techniques of the 21 realms of the immortal and mortal realms and the 12 heaven gate realms. It was the source of all cultivation techniques in this sea of stars. Countless experts had once listened to the Tao there, and countless experts had walked out from there. That was the beginning of all legends. There must be countless traces of the great Tao imprinted inside. It might also contain the imprint of the god of creation's Tao preaching. It might even contain mysteries that surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms. Originally, everyone thought that the boundless Tao realm had long completely closed and disappeared with the departure of the god of creation. Now, someone actually said that the boundless Tao realm was still in the heaven realm. And he could even detect it. Are you serious? Is that true? The Immortal Valley has investigated the boundless Tao realm? This place immediately became noisy. Everyone was incomparably excited, and their gazes were all focused on Qin Tang. The news that he said was too shocking. That's right. The ancestral master of my Immortal Valley had once investigated the boundless Tao realm. Qin Tang nodded solemnly and said, moreover, he had entered it before. The entire inheritance of my Immortal Valley was actually obtained by the ancestral master by observing a mysterious light shadow in the boundless Tao realm. The ancestral master described that there is no division of heaven and earth in the boundless Tao realm, no difference between the upper and lower realms. There is only an endless and vast space with countless lights and shadows floating and sinking. In the middle of these countless lights and shadows sat an incomparably majestic figure. This incomparably majestic light and shadow seems to contain all the great Tao and laws. It's the source of all cultivation. The ancestral master only took a glance and comprehended the inheritance of the Immortal Valley. Then, he came out of the boundless Tao realm. Everyone present was silent, but their eyes flickered with dense shock. In that case, the purpose of the outer world invasion can be confirmed. It's for the boundless Tao realm. Lian Heng nodded and bowed to Kuiheng. Senior, what do you think? Amen. Kuiheng nodded slightly and said, if the 9 heavens really followed the god of creation, I believe their understanding of the boundless Tao realm will be quite comprehensive. They should also know that the boundless Tao realm is still in the heaven realm. If it's really for the sake of the boundless Tao realm, then this is a realm above the 12 heaven gate realms. The sect master of Origin Island, Wang Qi, said worriedly, this means that someone among the 9 heavens of the outer world must have already reached the peak of the 12th heaven gate. Perhaps his already comparable to the Lord of the Heavenly Court back then. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's faces revealed worry. The Lord of the Heavenly Court was an expert who stood at the peak of the 12th Heaven Gate realm. This was not only to say that he had reached the 12th Heaven Gate realm, but also to say that he had reached the end of this path and was an existence that had reached the peak of this path. Legend had it that only by truly walking to the end of the 12 Heaven Gate realms and standing at the peak would one have a chance to peak at the realm above the 12 Heaven Gate realms. If it was just an ordinary 12th Heaven Gate realm expert, they would not even have the qualifications to see a higher realm. If such an expert appeared in the outer world, the Heaven realm would be in danger. Of course, if the senior agreed to help the Heaven realm resist the outer world invasion. When everyone thought of this, they could not help but look at Kui Heng. He was their final hope. Kui Heng naturally understood what they were thinking. He smiled and said, "Bring me to see the seal of that Lord of the Heavenly Court first." 1. Lian Heng, Qin Tang, Wang Qi, and the others were overjoyed when they heard this and hurriedly bowed. "Thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior." The seal of the Lord of the Heavenly Court was extremely complicated. Even if it was just to open a path to that place, it required extremely detailed preparation. Therefore, after obtaining Kui Heng's promise, Lian Heng and the others left first. After making the preparations, they would invite Kui Heng over. After the sect masters of the immortal Dao sects left, the yellow-scarfed strongman stood beside Kui Heng, looking like he wanted to say something but hesitated. Kui Heng noticed his expression and looked at him. "Why? Do you have any doubts?" "There are indeed some doubts." The yellow-scarfed strongman nodded and hesitated slightly before saying, "Master Immortal, aren't you being too cautious? With your great divine power and dharmic powers, you actually only used a questioning method to ask them. So it's this." Kui Heng laughed when he heard this. Then, he said solemnly, "As long as you can achieve the same goal, don't give up the safest method for the sake of convenience." The yellow-scarfed strongman pondered when he heard this. A moment later, he bowed respectfully and said, "Master Immortal is wise. I've learned something." Kui Heng nodded slightly and said, "It's never wrong to be cautious." Actually, with his current divine strength and dharmic powers, if he wanted to obtain information from Lian Heng and the others, he could completely read their memories directly. With their cultivation realms, they could not even sense that their memories had been flipped through. However, Kui Heng did not do so. The reason was very simple. For safety. He could not be sure if Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others had seen any unbelievably powerful beings in their long lives. If they had seen it before, even if these people did not feel anything, their memories would still leave traces of that powerful being. In that case, when Kui Heng flipped through these people's memories, he would come into contact with the traces of the images left behind by that powerful being. If that existence was powerful enough to directly affect or even control such images, then, while he was flipping through these people's memories, he might be sensed by that powerful existence, attracting some unnecessary trouble or even danger. However, if his communication with them was stopped at the conversation level, this problem would not exist. After all, the information that language could carry was limited. Compared to directly flipping through a person's memories, it was much safer. Moreover, through questioning, he could still obtain the information he wanted and achieve the same outcome. It would just take a little more time than directly flipping through the other party's memories. With Kui Heng's cautious style, as long as the outcome was the same, he would definitely choose the safer method. A few days later, Lian Heng and Qin Tang rushed back. They had brought a message. The sealed place of the Lord of the Heavenly Court had disappeared. It was not that the seal had disappeared. Instead, the area where the Lord of the Heavenly Court was sealed had disappeared at some point. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com 1. This matter made even Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the other immortal orthodoxes panic. This matter made even Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the other immortal orthodoxes panic. The place that sealed the Lord of the Heavenly Court could be said to be the strongest and most stable place in the entire heaven realm. That was a seal set up by the 9 heavens supreme venerates of the outer world. In the entire heaven realm, No one had been able to shake this seal in the past 500,000 years. But now, including the seal, the area where the seal was located, and everything within a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers had actually disappeared. Only a huge basin was left. It was very bizarre. This was not just the land within a radius of 10,000 kilometers being moved. Instead, it removed the seal on this land and the Lord of the Heavenly Court who was sealed there. It was not something that ordinary people could do. They didn't leave any traces? Kui Heng asked in surprise. No. Lian Heng shook his head and said, there's nothing. The Dharma and logos in that area are all normal. There's not even any sign of damage. It's simply unbelievable. If it's just from the surface, it's as if there's never been any seal there. Qin Tang added, but in the past hundreds of thousands of years, we've already investigated the seal there many times. If that's the case, it's indeed a big problem. Kui Heng nodded slightly, and his expression became solemn. A seal that could suppress the Lord of the Heavenly Court, who stood at the peak of the 12 heaven gates, for hundreds of thousands of years must have an extremely stable connection with the land and even the surrounding laws. To completely move it away was almost equivalent to facing the power of the entire seal head-on. Logically speaking, such power had definitely surpassed the peak 12th heaven gate realm and could successfully suppress the seal set up by the 9 heavens. Did this mean that the other party had already reached the early stage soul formation realm? Perhaps even stronger? When did such an expert appear in the heaven realm? This made Kui Heng feel even more vigilant. Could it be that there was a mysterious existence hidden in the heaven realm? It was best to investigate the situation. This was to prevent him from knowing nothing about the appearance of an extremely powerful existence. Bring me over to take a look, Kui Heng said in a low voice. Yes, thank you, Senior. Lian Heng and Qin Tang heaved a sigh of relief. In their opinion, as long as Kui Heng was willing to take action, all of this would not be a problem. Then, Kui Heng instructed the yellow-scarfed strongman to stay in the capital of the Wood Nation for the time being. He went with Lian Heng and Qin Tang to the place where the Lord of the Heavenly Court was sealed. Euro. Yongtian region, central Xianping domain. This was a wasteland desert that stretched for tens of millions of kilometers. The ground seemed to be burning with flames at all times. The temperature was extremely high, and ordinary living beings could not survive at all. However, under the scalding yellow sand, there were countless ferocious beasts living. Any living being who came to this desert had to face the pursuit of these ferocious beasts. Creatures below the Heaven Gate realm would basically die if they came to such a place. In the entire Heaven realm, there were only a few such harsh environments like the central part of the Xianping domain. Actually, 500,000 years ago, this was still a rather prosperous area. There were large cities, many experts, and abundant natural treasures. It was one of the core areas of the Yongtian region. However, after the Outer World invasion, this place had undergone a tremendous change. That was because the Lord of the Heavenly Court was sealed here by the 9 heavens. Although the process of this seal was extremely fast, there was almost no direct confrontation, nor were there many fluctuations in power. The Xianping domain, which was the epicenter of the incident, was still greatly affected. Most of the area was razed to the ground, and the living beings there were reduced to ashes. Even experts who had crossed the second heavenly ladder were annihilated like ants. The central area had become a wasteland desert that stretched for tens of millions of kilometers. The once prosperous Xianping domain had become a dead land without ordinary living beings. In the past, almost no one would come to such a place. However, at this moment, more than 20 people were gathered in the central area of the Xianping domain. Their auras were incomparably powerful, causing the ferocious beasts living nearby to retreat, not daring to approach at all. In front of these people was a huge basin that was more than 100 kilometers deep and had a radius of more than 10,000 kilometers. This was the place where the Lord of the Heavenly Court was once sealed. But there was nothing left now. I wonder if Brother Lian and Brother Qin can invite that senior over. The current situation is too bizarre, the sect master of Origin Island, Wang Qi, said with a worried expression. At this moment, the more than 20 people gathered around this huge basin were all the sect masters of the various immortal orthodoxies. Without exception, They had already stepped through the second heavenly ladder. The sect masters of the immortal Dao sects who had gone to visit Quiheng earlier were all here. There were also more than 10 new arrivals. Their expressions were similar to Wang Qi's. They were all frowning, their faces filled with worry and anxiety. In the past hundreds of thousands of years, thinking of a way to undo the seal on the Lord of the Heavenly Court had always been the best way to resist the invasion of the outer world. Now, this sealed place had actually disappeared for no reason. What should they do? Without the help of the Lord of the Heavenly Court, how could they resist the invasion of the outer world? Everyone was anxious. Especially the more than 20 sect masters of the immortal orthodoxies who rushed over after receiving the news that the seal was about to be unlocked. Unexpectedly, when they arrived, they saw an empty basin. The sealed place actually disappeared silently. Not a trace was left. It was as if it had never appeared. It was too ridiculous. Brother Wang, is the senior you mentioned really that powerful? A middle-aged man who looked to be in his 30s asked Wang Qi. This person was the sect master of the immortal Dao sect, the limitless divine palace. His name was Qian Kaiyang, and his cultivation was at the 8th level of the Heaven Gate. He was not weak. That senior's strength far exceeds our imagination. Wang Qi nodded and said in a low voice, actually, if that senior agrees to resist the outer world invasion, even if we can't find the Lord of the Heavenly Court, we don't have to worry. He's actually so powerful. Tian Kaiyang asked in surprise. Although the limitless divine palace had always been on good terms with the origin island and had a close relationship, and there was no need for Wang Qi to lie to him, this news was too shocking. After all, from Wang Qi's words, as long as this so-called senior took action, it would not be a problem to resist the invasion of the outer world. He was even stronger than the Lord of the Heavenly Court. Wang Qi's answer also attracted the attention of the others, and their faces revealed surprised expressions. The Lord of the Heavenly Court was the strongest expert in the 6 heavenly regions. Since ancient times, other than the original God of creation, no living being had been stronger than the Lord of the Heavenly Court. There was no doubt about that. Even the 9 heavens of the outer world had only managed to suppress and seal the Lord of the Heavenly Court. It was said that they had relied on the power left behind by the God of creation and not on their own strength. How could an existence stronger than the Lord of the Heavenly Court suddenly appear? This also puzzled the others who had never seen Quiheng before. Was he really so powerful? The strength of that senior is indescribable. Wang Qi smiled and said, when senior arrives, everyone will naturally know. The others who had seen Quiheng before nodded. This made the others even more curious. What kind of existence could make so many sect masters of immortal orthodoxies acknowledge that he was stronger than the Lord of the Heavenly Court? Could he be that an existence that surpassed the peak 12th Heaven Gate realm had really appeared in the Heaven realm? At this moment, 3 pillars of light suddenly descended from the sky and landed at the edge of the basin. Countless colors flowed on these 3 pillars of light, as if they were intertwined with countless great Tao laws, dazzling everyone. Even the experts who had crossed the second heavenly ladder felt a little dazed the moment they saw the pillars of light. They could not help but be intoxicated and involuntarily wanted to comprehend the mysteries within. Fortunately, the light pillars did not last long. They only existed for a few breaths before disappearing. Where the pillars of light disappeared, 3 figures stood. They were Quiheng, Lianheng, and Qin Tang, who had come from the capital of the Wood Nation. At this moment, the people who had just been immersed in the mysteries of the pillars of light had just returned to their senses. They knew Lianheng and Qin Tang, so they naturally guessed that Quiheng, who was standing beside the 2 of them, was the senior Wang Qi and the others were talking about. Recalling the experience of seeing the pillars of light just now, they suddenly felt that perhaps this senior was really a great existence that had surpassed the 12 Heaven Gate realms. Actually, the colorful pillars of light were only a void passageway constructed by Quiheng with his dharmic powers. Although the space of the Heaven realm was extremely stable and the great Tao laws were very rigid, and it was difficult to teleport under normal circumstances, this suppression was useless against Quiheng. With Quiheng's divine powers, he could naturally easily cross the void and teleport. He directly constructed a void passageway and brought Lianheng and Qin Tang to the place where the basin was. The reason why those people felt like they saw countless great Tao laws just now was because the Pillar of Light contained Kui Heng's dharmic powers. The manifestation of a soul formation realm cultivator's dharmic powers would indeed allow people of low realms to have an experience similar to facing the source of the great Tao. This is the sealed place of the Lord of the Heavenly Court. Kui Heng looked at the basin. In an instant, he saw the entire situation here. The nomological Tao runes intertwined with his surroundings were also clearly visible in his perception. Lian Heng and Qin Tang stood at the side and nodded repeatedly, but they did not dare to speak, afraid that they would disturb Kui Heng's observation of the situation here. There are indeed almost no traces. Kui Heng nodded slightly at first, then smiled and said, however, they still left something behind. There's a familiar aura here. Paragon of the Plague Sect, come out. As soon as he finished speaking, a door of light appeared beside him. This door of light was connected to the grotto heaven world he had established. Lu Qingzhu, who was inside, seemed to have broken free from some restraint and jumped out. She charged straight towards the core of the basin in front of her. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Paragon of the Plague Sect. Paragon of the Plague Sect. Lu Qingzhu, it's really Lu Qingzhu. Didn't she die long ago? The sect masters of the immortal Tao sects all exclaimed as they looked at the white-robed woman who was rushing towards the center of the basin in disbelief. Their hearts were filled with indescribable shock. Lu Qingzhu, the paragon of the plague sect of the ancient heavenly court, an expert who had reached the ninth heaven gate realm. There were also rumors that her death was actually the backup plan of the Lord of the Heavenly Court. What was the meaning of her appearing here at this time? Who brought her here? Moreover, hadn't she already suffered a heavenly tribulation? How did she come back to life? As the existence of the phenomenon fluctuation when Lu Qingzhu's tomb appeared was within the range of the Qingtian region, it did not affect the other regions. Therefore, not many of the sect masters of these immortal orthodoxies knew that Lu Qingzhu had already walked out of her tomb. In the understanding of these people, Lu Qingzhu, the paragon of the plague sect, had already died under the heavenly tribulation hundreds of thousands of years ago. She could no longer appear in this world. Senior, this is, Lian Heng looked at Lu Qingzhu's back in shock, but he also said in surprise, what does this paragon of the plague sect want to do? Could it be that she has discovered clues about the sealed land? As soon as he said this, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. Everyone present looked over. The Lord of the Heavenly Court had always been treated as a life-saving straw by the sect masters of these immortal orthodoxies. Ever since they discovered that the sealed land of the Lord of the Heavenly Court had disappeared, they had all fallen into a huge panic. If they could find clues about the sealed land, it would undoubtedly be great news for them. You'll know after watching. Kui Heng smiled. Yes, Senior. Lian Heng nodded. Although he did not understand what Kui Heng meant, he believed that Kui Heng must have a reason for saying this. He should just continue watching. Qin Tang, Wang Qi, and the others at the side had the same thoughts. They had all seen Kui Heng's strength and did not have any doubts. Actually, after Kui Heng sensed the traces left in the void here, he already had some guesses. After letting Lu Qingzhu out and seeing her reaction, the answer was even clearer. However, he still had to wait for the final verification. Rumble. At this moment, dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky above the basin. Pitch-black clouds surged in the sky, and lightning danced in them, as if the heavens were furious. An extremely terrifying aura of power had already spread above. Clearly, a thunderstorm was about to descend. At this moment, Lu Qingzhu had already arrived at the center of the basin. She had already stopped and stood there quietly, as if she was sensing and probing for something. Moreover, she seemed to have discovered something very quickly. Then, Lu Qingzhu suddenly raised her hand and waved it. Burial chambers appeared beside her out of thin air. This was the appearance of her grave. Previously, when Wuxia used the decree Kui Heng had given him to suppress Lu Qingzhu and put her in his cosmic bag, he had also taken away the complete tomb. Later on, Lu Qingzhu was imprisoned in Kui Heng's grotto heaven. The palaces in the tomb was sent into the grotto heaven with Lu Qingzhu. Therefore, Kui Heng knew Lu Qingzhu's grave extremely well. After arriving at this basin, he immediately felt a power that was extremely similar to the aura in Lu Qingzhu's tomb. However, this power was even more hidden and difficult to detect. It should be a special concealment technique. It was precisely for this reason that Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the other sect masters of the immortal Dao sects were unable to discover any abnormal traces this time. However, as the owner of the tomb, Lu Qingzhu could easily discover the abnormalities here. After she revealed the tomb, the Dao runes, dermas, and logos in the basin immediately underwent a huge change. They directly changed from calm and stable to distorted. Especially in the core area of the basin where Lu Qingzhu was, void vortexes appeared one after another. These void vortexes were interconnected with each other, forming a slightly distorted spatial passageway, as if it led to an incomparably vast unknown space. Lian Heng and the others revealed happy expressions. Since there was a spatial passageway, did it mean that the sealed land of the Lord of the Heavenly Court was on the other side of this spatial passageway? However, they quickly sensed that this spatial passageway was filled with distorted void storms and many chaotic and broken laws. Once they entered, it would definitely be dangerous. At this moment, Lu Qingzhu moved again. She raised her hand gently, and a bronze coffin flew out of the tomb palace and landed in the middle of the void vortexes. In an instant, the spatial passageway formed by these void vortexes stabilized. The spatial storms inside became calm, and the chaotic and shattered laws returned to their orderly state. The spatial passageway became stable. Kui Heng's gaze landed on the entrance of the spatial passageway and he instantly saw the situation inside. He nodded slightly and said, "Go in and take a look." Then, he took the lead and entered the spatial passageway. Lian Heng, Qin Tang, Wang Qi, and the others looked at each other and hurriedly followed. The others hesitated for a moment before following. Finding the sealed land of the Lord of the Heavenly Court was their hope of resisting the outer world invasion. Now that they had finally seen the light of dawn, how could they give up? Moreover, if they really could not find the Lord of the Heavenly Court, they would have to rely on this senior to resist the outer world. It was also impossible for them not to follow him. Under the stabilization of the bronze coffin, the spatial passageway became stable and unobstructed. However, after passing through this spatial passageway, everyone arrived at a place filled with powerful auras. This was an incomparably vast space. 9 pillars of light of different colors connected from top to bottom. Their power intertwined with each other, as if they were working together to seal something. Sealed land, this is the sealed land. Lian Heng could not help but exclaim. He said happily, "This is the place where the Lord of the Heavenly Court is sealed. Senior helped us find it." The others were also extremely happy. Then, Lian Heng, Qin Tang, Wang Qi, and the others were the first to bow and thank Kui Heng. The others followed closely behind. "Thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior." Kui Heng waved his hand and smiled. "There's no need to be like this. Let's go in and take a look first." "But, Senior, this seal hasn't been undone yet." Lian Heng smiled bitterly. "With the seal, we can't enter." "We can." Kui Heng nodded slightly and said, "Just follow me." With that, he walked forward. When he approached the seal formed by the 9 pillars of light, endless pressure and sealing power surged over, as if they wanted to suppress all the uninvited guests who had barged in. However, when these forces were just 1,000 feet away from Kui Heng, they seemed to have encountered an invisible barrier and could no longer advance. Moreover, they quickly collapsed and dissipated. The seal set up by the 9 heavens of the outer world was unable to affect Kui Heng at all. When Lian Heng and the others saw this scene, they were immediately shocked. Although they had long guessed that Kui Heng's strength was definitely incomparably powerful, they were still extremely shocked when they saw him ignore the 9 heavens seal. This was a seal that even the Lord of the Heavenly Court was unable to overcome. Now, it seemed like a breeze blowing past his face. It was not worth mentioning at all. Under Kui Heng's lead, the group quickly passed through the sealed area and arrived at the core area, which was where the Lord of the Heavenly Court should be suppressed. However, when they arrived, they realized that there was no one here. No one was suppressed here at all. There was only an empty white ground. What's going on? Lian Heng looked at the empty space in disbelief. This is clearly the place where the Lord of the Heavenly Court was sealed. Kui Heng's eyes narrowed slightly as he sized up his surroundings. Actually, when he was outside, he had already realized that the place was empty. However, he still had to come in and see if there were any clues. Chem. This is, Kui Heng suddenly exclaimed softly. He discovered a trace that looked like a message. His gaze froze as he saw a line of words. The Tao is boundless, and the Dharma is boundless. 6 heavens return to one, and the great Tao is formed. Now that the opportunity has arrived, I should shatter here. Thank you for reading on my box novel. 6 heavens return to one, the great Tao is formed. 6 heavens return to one, the great Tao is formed. Was this the same as what Zhu Juntian had said, 6 heavens as one, sea of stars merge, that is the formation of my Tao? The opportunity had arrived. What was he talking about? The boundless Tao at the forefront is immeasurable. Was it a simple description, or was there a hidden meaning? Kui Heng frowned slightly and fell into deep thought. At the same time, he used his dharmic powers to present this sentence to Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others. This immediately attracted their attention. The Tao is boundless, and the Dharma is boundless. 6 heavens return to one, and the great Tao is formed. Now that the opportunity has arrived, I should shatter here. Is this a message from the Lord of the Heavenly Court? The Tao is boundless, and the Dharma is boundless. What does it mean? Could I bet referring to the boundless Tao realm? What does 6 heavens return to one mean? What kind of great Tao did it form? What is the opportunity and what was shattered? All the sect masters of the immortal Tao sects guessed in surprise. The Tao is boundless, and the Dharma is boundless. The Tao is boundless, and the Dharma is boundless. Qin Tang suddenly exclaimed. The opening sentence of the Divine Power Secret Manual personally written by the ancestral master of my immortal valley was this sentence. This is the comprehension he obtained in the boundless Tao realm. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present looked at Qin Tang. Even Kui Heng looked at him. Go on. Kui Heng smiled. Yes, it's like this. Qin Tang nodded and said, on the first page of our Immortal Valley's secret divine technique, there's this sentence personally written by the ancestral master. Initially, we thought that this was just a warning left behind by the ancestral master for our descendants after he comprehended something in the boundless Tao realm. He wanted us to cultivate diligently and not slack off. But from the looks of it, this sentence probably has other deeper meanings. Otherwise, the Lord of the Heavenly Court shouldn't have specially left this sentence here. The Tao is boundless should refer to the boundless Tao realm. Lian Heng also spoke and added, the Dharma is boundless should also refer to something. I once heard a story from the ancestors in the Eternal Academy, and it mentioned the description of the boundless heavenly Dharma technique. The content of the story is related to the God of creation. Legend has it that before the God of creation left, he placed the 6 strongest treasures he had with him in the heaven gate. As long as one can gather these 6 treasures, they can absorb all the characteristics of the power contained in the heaven gate and possess the power of the boundless heavenly Tao, completely surpassing the realm of the 12th heaven gate. There's actually such a thing. Kui Heng pondered for a moment and said, if this story is true, the so-called boundless Dharma should be referring to gathering the characteristics of the powers contained in the heaven gate on oneself after collecting those 6 treasures. If someone can do this, they will definitely have the strength to surpass the 12th heaven gate realm. And the boundless Tao realm might be able to further fuse these characteristics of power and truly stabilize their cultivation. Even if a cultivator here reached the end of the 12 heaven gate realms, they were far inferior to an early-stage soul formation cultivator. This was the conclusion Kui Heng came to after seeing the seal of the 9 heavens in the outer world. Actually, this was very normal. After all, the 12 heaven gate realms were not essentially cultivation. It was just constantly obtaining the characteristics of the power of the heaven gate. Even if they reached the peak of the 12 heaven gate realms, they had only fused 12 power characteristics and undergone 3 sublimations. This sort of improvement was not enough to compare to the soul formation realm. Even the pseudo-soul formation cultivators with relatively simple strength or obvious shortcomings were far superior to this level. The difference was too great. A heaven gate contained a large number of heaven gate characteristics, but there were also different levels of heaven gate characteristics. The 1st and 12th levels of the heaven gate would definitely give different heaven gate characteristics. From all aspects of information, the difficulty of transcending the heavenly ladder was not low. Especially when crossing the 3rd heavenly ladder from the 9th to the 10th heaven gate, it was even more difficult. Even in the 6 heavenly regions, cultivators of that level were as rare as phoenix feathers and Chilean horns. Every expert who could cross the 3rd heavenly ladder was a top existence since ancient times. This might also prove indirectly that the higher the level of the heaven gate characteristic, the fewer there would be. If that was really the case, even if the cultivator obtained all the power characteristics in the heaven gate, he might not be able to reach the early stage soul formation realm. Perhaps he really needed to gather all the characteristics of the 6 heaven gates to achieve this breakthrough. The message left behind by the Lord of the Heavenly Court seemed to be saying that he had already successfully fused the 6 heavens into one and had waited for an opportunity to shatter here. Was the so-called shattering a realm that had surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms? But there was a problem. The current situation of the heaven gate was clearly normal. Its strength had not been completely emptied. Did this mean that the Lord of the Heavenly Court had yet to complete his final breakthrough? Or was his understanding of the phrase 6 heavens return to one wrong? Was there no need to absorb all the characteristics of the 6 heaven gates? If that was the case, what was the message expressed by the Lord of the Heavenly Court? What kind of state was the Lord of the Heavenly Court in now? For a moment, many guesses appeared in Kui Heng's heart, but there was always one person who he could not get around in these guesses. That was Zhu Juntian. What role did this artifact spirit of the Door of Heaven play in the series of plans of the Lord of the Heavenly Court? Thank you for reading on my box novel. What relationship or connection did the two have? What relationship or connection did the two have? And that mysterious Tao God, how did he get involved? Looks like the key to everything is still Zhu Juntian. As long as I can unlock all the secrets about him, I might be able to directly establish a deep relationship with this sea of stars. At that time, not to mention the mid-stage soul formation realm, even the late-stage soul formation realm will probably be within reach. Kui Heng thought to himself, this time, I understand what level of strength is equivalent to the 3rd heavenly ladder. I can relax a little in my next actions. He had always been cautious, but caution did not mean that he would blindly avoid the situation. After confirming the level of strength of this place, he could let loose a little. At this moment, because Kui Heng had come to a conclusion just now, Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the other sect masters of the immortal Dao sects became worried. Senior, you mean, the Lord of the Heavenly Court might have already surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms? Lian Heng asked uncertainly. Then, in that case, is it possible that he's no longer in the heaven realm? If he was still in the heaven realm, how could he not have appeared for hundreds of thousands of years? It's indeed possible. Kui Heng nodded slightly. Sigh, what should we do? Lian Heng's face was filled with worry as he sighed and said, in that case, how are we going to resist the invasion of the outer world? The worry on the faces of the other sect masters of the immortal Dao sects became even stronger. The Lord of the Heavenly Court, who they had always regarded as their hope, had inexplicably shattered and disappeared. It was very likely that he was no longer in the heaven realm. This meant that they did not even have the qualifications to resist the 9 heavens. Could it be that they had to wait for death? There's no need to be so worried. Kui Heng shook his head and chuckled. Then, he said to Lian Heng, if an expert who has transcended the 3rd heavenly ladder attacks, I'll personally take action. You don't have to worry. As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding people, who were still frowning, immediately cheered. They were all overjoyed. That's great. Thank you, Senior, thank you. Everyone in the heaven realm will remember Senior's kindness. The sect masters of the immortal Dao sects bowed respectfully to Kui Heng with smiles on their faces. They had already seen Kui Heng's strength. This was an unbelievably powerful being with extremely terrifying strength. As long as Kui Heng was willing to attack, the outer world was nothing to be afraid of. Therefore, after obtaining Kui Heng's promise, Lian Heng and the others could not help but heave a sigh of relief. The worry on their faces completely dissipated. Senior, we plan to focus on investigating the movements of the outer world experts next. What do you think? Lian Heng said in a low voice. Now that the Scarlet Tribulation has already begun, I reckon it won't be long before the outer world launches a full attack. Sure. Kui Heng nodded slightly and said in a low voice, you're in charge of investigating the movements of the outer world and monitoring the progress of the Scarlet Calamity. I'll directly attack when I need to. After discussing the next course of action, Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the other sect masters of the immortal Dao sects left the sealed land and returned to their sects, preparing to carefully monitor the movements of the outer world and the changes in the Scarlet Calamity. Kui Heng did not leave immediately. After this exploration, his understanding of the heaven realm and the 6 heavenly regions had deepened a lot. He could clearly feel that his communication with the heaven realm had become deeper. This also greatly increased the speed of the expansion of the boundless starry sky in his body. The speed at which his dharmic powers, soul, and body became stronger also increased greatly. Even if I enter seclusion now and ignore the world, I will automatically step into the mid-stage soul formation realm in less than 100 years. Kui Heng comprehended the changes in his cultivation and was rather happy. From this, it could be seen how right his decision to come to the heaven realm was. If he had not come to the heaven realm, it would have been impossible for him to obtain such a rapid cultivation speed, let alone break through to the mid-stage soul formation realm in just 100 or 200 years. After stabilizing the current communication relationship, Kui Heng walked out of a sealed area and saw the white-robed woman, Lu Qingzhu, still standing outside. She was still standing in the middle of the basin with a cold aura. She had already taken back the tomb palace, and only the bronze coffin was still outside. Actually, the sect masters Lian Heng, Qin Tang, Wang Qi, and the other immortal orthodoxes had unintentionally ignored why Lu Qingzhu could open the spatial passageway to the sealed area. Of course, it was most likely because this matter was no longer important to them. They were not the subjects of the heavenly court, nor had they received the favor of the Lord of the heavenly court, nor were they supporters of the heavenly court. The reason why they had painstakingly prepared for hundreds of thousands of years to undo the seal that suppressed the Lord of the heavenly court was only to obtain the help of the Lord of the heavenly court to resist the invasion of the outer world. Therefore, as long as they could obtain Kui Heng's help, the situation of the Lord of the heavenly court no longer mattered. However, Kui Heng, who aimed to explore the secrets, would not let go of this small problem. After all, small problems usually hide big secrets. After Kui Heng walked out of the seal, he came to Lu Qingzhu and smiled. Miss, do you remember anything? The moment Lu Qingzhu ran out of the grotto heaven, he realized that Lu Qingzhu seemed a little abnormal. She seemed to have become much more agile. I. Lu Qingzhu said I 3 times in a row, but in the end, she could not say what she wanted to say. In the end, she could only lower her head and remain silent. It was not that she did not want to say it, but because her memories and thoughts were still in a very messy state. It was impossible for her to organize her thoughts into normal language to communicate. Looks like you know the answer. Kui Heng smiled and said, I'll ask you again when you can speak normally. Go back first. As he spoke, he opened the door of light that led to the grotto heaven. Lu Qingzhu walked over without hesitation and entered again with her bronze coffin. Next, we have to prepare to deal with the true invasion of the outer world. Kui Heng looked at a few places that flickered with scarlet light in the distance. Mid-stage soul formation realm, I'm almost there. After the Scarlet Calamity erupted, the Yellow Heaven sect began to take action to save the world. Actually, the operation to save the world was only within the range of the Qinghua domain at the beginning. However, as the scope of the calamity expanded, the number of believers the Yellow Heaven sect received increased, and they had no choice but to expand to other regions. With the double help of Hui Shi and the yellow-scarved strongman, the people of the Yellow Heavenly sect were almost unstoppable in the face of a normal Scarlet Calamity. Without much effort, they turned the place where the calamity erupted back to normal. After all, in normal scarlet calamities, the monsters that crawled out of the ground basically did not even have the power of gods. This also meant that as long as one could obtain the protection of the Yellow Heaven sect, they could survive this scarlet calamity. To the Yellow Heaven sect, every time they successfully dealt with the monsters born from the scarlet calamity and properly settled the local people, it was a huge increase in reputation. This caused the entire sect's population to snowball. Finally, one day, the believers of the Yellow Heaven sect who were scattered everywhere suddenly felt that the strange living beings they were facing seemed to have been strengthened. The monsters that could be easily dealt with in the past were actually much more laborious to deal with now. At the same time, an incomparably bright and resplendent scarlet light lit up from the horizon without warning. In an instant, it covered the entire Qingtian region at a speed that far exceeded ordinary light. However, the Qingtian region was only the beginning. After covering the Qingtian region, this scarlet light continued to spread in all directions to the west. At this moment, many people understood. The real scarlet calamity had descended. Thank you for reading on my box novel. In the dark and deep void of the universe. In the dark and deep void of the universe. 9 figures enveloped in different colored halos stood in front of a huge scarlet door of light. Behind them was the boundless starry sky, countless stars and realms. The auras of these 9 figures were ancient and boundless, as if they were ancient gods that had walked out from a long time ago. Their pressure was extremely vast and huge. Just by standing there, the surrounding void distorted. The great Tao laws also gathered over, like the most humble subjects prostrating at their feet. Any one of them was a powerful existence that could stir the starry sky with a flick of their fingers and destroy a large world. They were the supreme rulers of this star field. The 9 heavens' supreme venerables. This was what the star field called them. The figure standing at the front was burly and tall. He wore a robe and had a dignified aura, giving off the feeling that he ruled everything. He was the leader of the 9 heavens and the core of the 9 heavens. Heavenly Venerate Zhong. Beside Heavenly Venerate Zhong stood a stone man with a blurry face. His entire body was made of stone. He did not have any vitality, but he gave off an unfathomable aura. This was Heavenly Venerate Shu, one of the 6/12th Heaven Gate Realm Heavenly Venerables of the 9 heavens. He was also the strongest among the 9 heavens besides Heavenly Venerate Zhong. He could be said to be the deputy leader. The other 7 were Heavenly Venerate Guo, Heavenly Venerate Chen, Heavenly Venerate Jin, Heavenly Venerate Tian, Heavenly Venerate Jiang, Heavenly Venerate Shi, and Heavenly Venerate Wu. Other than Heavenly Venerate Jiang, Heavenly Venerate Shi, and Heavenly Venerate Jin who were only at the 11th Heaven Gate Realm, the others were all experts at the 12th Heaven Gate Realm. They were the strongest group of people in this sea of stars since the cultivation technique of the 12 Heaven Gate Realms was passed down. We have to crush the Heaven Realm in one blow to prevent unnecessary trouble. Heavenly Venerate Zhong stared at the scarlet light as if he was staring at the Heaven Realm on the other side. He said in a low voice, "This time, it's a full-out attack. We'll all use our strongest techniques. There's no need to hold back." "That's right." Heavenly Venerate Shu nodded and said, "We've already discussed the detailed plan of action at the previous meeting, so I won't say anything else. I'll only remind you of one thing. This time, the enemy we'll be facing might not only be the Lord of the Heavenly Court, but also a mysterious expert. They're all experts who really stand at the peak of the 12 Heaven Gate Realms and can peer into the Shattering Realm. Facing experts of that level, we have to cooperate with all our might and activate the divine weapons left behind by the God of Creation. We can't slack off at all. Only then can we win. 2. As long as we can take down the Heaven Realm and kill the Lord of the Heavenly Court, we can obtain the method to enter the boundless Tao Realm. We will have a chance to break through to the Shattering Realm and completely escape this cage." "Alright, there's no need to say too much," Heavenly Venerate Zhong said indifferently. "The attack this time is of great significance. It's also the joint decision of us 9 heavens. There will definitely be no one taking it lightly. Let's go." Then, Heavenly Venerate Zhong and Heavenly Venerate Shu walked in front and entered the scarlet door of light. The other 7 followed closely behind. They all crossed the door of light and entered a spatial passageway. This spatial passageway was not wide. It could even be said to be extremely narrow and cramped. Moreover, it was filled with powerful spatial storms. Every time they advanced, they would be attacked by the sharp blades formed by countless spatial storms. In addition, there was also an extremely powerful repelling force in this spatial passageway. It was as if there was an invisible hand that wanted to pull them back to the starfield they were originally in. This meant that the other end of the spatial passageway was rejecting them from going over. However, Heavenly Venerate Zhong and Heavenly Venerate Shu at the front were enveloped in a layer of scarlet light that resisted this repulsive force, allowing them to advance unimpeded. Actually, under normal circumstances, there would not be a barrier between the different cantilevers in the same sea of stars that isolated both sides. It could be passed through normal methods. There was no need to use unique methods, nor was there a need to establish a special passageway like now. However, it was different in this sea of stars. The 6 cantilevers were divided into 6 star fields, each with a heaven gate. They were independent of each other. Not only were there several firm void barriers between the star fields, but the great Tao laws possessed by different star fields were also quite different. They were like 6 different worlds. If not for this scarlet light resisting the repulsive force, it would be impossible for them to cross to a different starfield. The heaven realm is ahead. Be careful and be prepared, Heavenly Venerate Zhong suddenly said. At the same time, the scarlet light on his body suddenly expanded, enveloping everyone else. At the same time, a door of light appeared in front of them. This was already the end of the spatial passageway. Chard. At the same time that the 9 heavens heavenly venerables of the outer world crossed over, an unprecedented huge phenomenon appeared in the heaven realm. At this moment, it was as if the great Tao laws of the entire heaven realm had received an extremely powerful impact. The mountains and rivers of the 9,000 heavenly regions actually trembled. Divine mountains swayed, and great rivers surged. Even the great Tao laws that existed in the dark were distorted by an invisible force, revealing various colors of light. Moreover, this was only the beginning. In just a few breaths, the world was filled with an extremely sinister gale. It was as if it was blown up from the depths of the 9 nether and instantly swept through the 9,000 heavenly regions. Streaks of cold wind slashed out like sharp blades, destroying everything in their path, turning all the places that were blown into pieces, causing many Heaven Gate experts to only be able to resist with all their might. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. In the sky, scarlet spatial cracks appeared. Strange lightning flickered inside, filled with an aura of chaos and destruction. In the sky, scarlet spatial cracks appeared. Strange lightning flickered inside, filled with an aura of chaos and destruction. Boom! A scarlet lightning bolt with a hint of black burst out of the spatial crack. It actually crossed the sky above hundreds of tianju. It was as if a huge saber had slashed through the sky and struck the hearts of many people in the heaven realm. An incomparably terrifying pressure immediately enveloped countless people from the heaven realm. All living beings below the heaven gate realm felt an unprecedented fear. Many masters of the immortal orthodoxies also looked at the sky in horror. With such pressure, the 9 heavens of the outer world are really going to attack. In the past, the Scarlet Calamity didn't have such terrifying power. The outer world is going to fight to the death this time. The 9 heavens of the outer world have descended. Hurry up and go to the capital of the Wood Nation to invite Senior Kui Hung. Facing such a terrifying pressure, even the experts who had crossed the second heavenly ladder realm were only left with fear in their hearts. They could not resist at all. The only thing they could think of was to look for Kui Hung. The strength of the 9 heavens was too powerful. Just their aura and pressure were already so terrifying. If they really descended, it would be even more unimaginable. Only by inviting that senior to take action would they have a chance of survival. Rumble. Another world-shaking thunder shook the entire heaven realm. This time, the spatial rift in the sky expanded in all directions like a dense spider web. The entire sky seemed to have become a broken glass, cracking into countless pieces. At the same time, Scarlet lightning that was like a 100,000-foot-tall mountain surged out of the dense spatial cracks and fell towards the mountains and rivers with destructive power. Such a terrifying lightning bolt descended. Wherever it passed, the void was distorted, and the nomological Tao runes showed signs of shattering. This was simply like the wrath of the heavens, wanting to destroy everything in the world. Under such natural power, even experts who had already fused with the characteristics of the heaven gate would feel small and powerless as long as they had not crossed the first heavenly ladder. It was too terrifying. In the Eternal Academy, as the institute head, Lian Heng looked at the sky in extreme shock. He, who was already at the ninth heaven gate realm, felt like an ant when he saw such a phenomenon with his own eyes. Just now, he had involuntarily taken a few steps back when he saw the huge lightning mountain descending from the distance. He was completely stunned, and even his hands were trembling slightly. One could imagine how huge the storm in his heart was. Too terrifying, Lian Heng muttered. I actually thought that perhaps we could rely on the power of our immortal orthodoxies to resist the invasion of the outer world to a certain extent. From the looks of it, it's completely wishful thinking. The difference was too great. Not to mention facing the power of the true bodies of the nine heavens, even the lightning mountain phenomenon was not something they could withstand. However, he was also a little glad and thought to himself, fortunately, with Senior Kui Heng around, it shouldn't be a problem to resist the nine heavens of the outer world. How lucky. In the Immortal Valley, Qin Tang also looked at the phenomenon in the sky with a pale face. His performance was even more embarrassing than Lian Heng's. When he saw the lightning mountains fall, he almost lost his balance and sat on the ground. This lightning mountain not only had the power of lightning, but it also had the ability to distort the void and destroy laws. It could easily crush experts who had yet to cross the third heavenly ladder. Just looking at this lightning mountain from afar could make countless people tremble in fear and not dare to resist at all. This is the power of the nine heavens. Isn't it too powerful? How can it be so powerful? Yellow Heaven Sect's headquarters. Countless disciples were already gathered here. They looked at the sky outside with firm gazes, but their eyes were still filled with fear. This was an instinctive fear that could not be avoided. At this moment, they were all gathered around Hui Shi, Pei Qingshu, Zheng Nanxuan, and Li Mingcheng. To them, it was the safest as long as they stayed by the four of them. Behind them, in the central square of the Yellow Heaven Sect's headquarters, stood the statue of divinity Yellow Heaven. This could also reassure the believers. As the backbone of everyone, Hui Shi, Pei Qingshu, Zheng Nanxuan, and Li Mingcheng were also filled with confidence. They believed that as long as the nine heavens of the outer world really descended, Kui Heng would definitely attack. As long as he attacked, it would definitely be a thunderous strike to eliminate any future troubles. Buzz. Buzz. At this moment, an ear-piercing trembling sound sounded in the world again. The place with the densest cobwebs in the sky suddenly cracked. It wasn't that something had cracked open. Instead, the spatial crack had all split open, creating an even larger hole. Soon, a scarlet door of light was formed. There was a vortex circling among it. Clearly, it led to another world. This is a cross-border door of light. The nine heavens of the other side has descended. Hui Shi could tell at a glance that this door of light was a cross-border passage that connected to other worlds. Moreover, there was a high chance that it was an enemy that the heaven realm and the mortal world were resisting, the outer world starry sky. In a desolate place in the heaven realm. This place was already outside the 9,000 heaven-earth origin chi. The heaven-earth origin chi here was thin, and the laws were incomplete. There were only scattered fragments, and even the complete Great Tao laws could not be found. If one cultivated here, it was very likely that they would not be able to cultivate to the golden immortal realm even if they died of old age. This was simply a cultivation wasteland with no opportunities. However, in such a place, there was a person sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed and cultivating, as if he had specially come to comprehend this desolate land. This person was in the deepest part of this desolate land. Crossing deserts and grasslands filled with bones, one could find a very blurry figure in a snow mountain that stretched for countless kilometers. At this moment, This figure was standing in a blizzard. The cold wind was like countless sharp blades blowing past, but he did not feel anything at all. He only quietly looked at the distant sky. When he saw the scarlet door of light established, he was not shocked but happy, and a relieved smile appeared on his face. After waiting for so many years, the fish has finally bitten the hook. In the palace where Kui Heng lived in the capital of the Wood Nation. At the beginning of the phenomenon, the Wood Emperor brought Mu Lingyun with him to look for Kui Heng, wanting to ask about the situation of this great calamity and why it was so powerful. Moreover, the phenomenon in the world was too terrifying. It was as if they had fallen into the final doomsday. This made the Wood Emperor and Mu Lingyun nervous. Kui Heng, on the other hand, was as relaxed as ever. He only glanced at the scarlet door of light and smiled. This battle that has lasted for hundreds of thousands of years or even millions of years should indeed come to an end. Boom! Accompanied by a series of world-shaking thunder and phenomena, the 9 heavens' heavenly venerables finally walked through the spatial passageway and crossed the barrier of their star field to arrive at the core of this starfield heaven realm. Ah, this is the heaven realm. After a person rushed out of the scarlet door of light, he immediately took a deep breath and smiled. That's great. It's still a familiar smell. It's the smell of home. This person was Heavenly Venerate Guo of the 9 heavens. Legend had it that as the outline of the heaven realm, he had already transformed into a human. Therefore, although he went to the outer world later and even became one of the 9 heavens, he had actually always treated the heaven realm as his hometown. Many people among the 9 heavens of the outer world were in a similar situation. Now that they had stepped into the heaven realm again, they could not help but sigh with emotion. However, Heavenly Venerate Zhong frowned. Don't relax. Prepare to fight. Thank you for reading on my box novel. A golden light that rose from the north reflected not only in the eyes of Heavenly Venerate Zhong, but also in the eyes of all the living beings in the heaven realm. A golden light that rose from the north reflected not only in the eyes of Heavenly Venerate Zhong, but also in the eyes of all the living beings in the heaven realm. An extremely powerful aura and pressure that towered above everything instantly swept through the 9,000 heavenly regions, causing every living being on this land to feel their hearts palpitate. At the same time, a blurry outline appeared in front of countless living beings. Although it was blurry and his true face could not be seen clearly, one could clearly feel the nobility and dignity of this figure. One could even feel the power to rule the myriad worlds. The appearance of this figure intoxicated countless living beings in the 9,000 heavenly regions and amazed them. There were also many ancient experts who had lived for a long time. After sensing this aura pressure, they all knelt down in horror. Lord of the Heavenly Court? This is the Lord of the Heavenly Court. The Lord of the Heavenly Court has reappeared in the world. Is this the Heavenly Court's Lord taking action to resist the Scarlet Calamity? That's great, that's really great. We're finally saved. In the hearts of most ancient experts, the Lord of the Heavenly Court was the strongest expert since ancient times. Other than the legendary god of creation, there had never been an expert who could compare to him. This was an expert who had truly stood at the peak of the 12 heaven gate realms and reached the end of this path. If not for the fact that he had been ambushed and sealed by the 9 heavens of the outer world, the Lord of the Heavenly Court would definitely have been able to easily resist the invasion of the outer world, and the heaven realm would definitely not have fallen to this state. This was also the consensus of most ancient experts. Therefore, now that they saw the Lord of the Heavenly Court finally appear again and fly directly to the place where the 9 heavens descended, they immediately became excited. Clearly, he was going to take action against the 9 heavens. With the strength of the Lord of the Heavenly Court, as long as he fought head-on, there would definitely not be any problems. He could definitely sweep through everything. At this moment, Lian Heng, Qin Tang, Wang Qi, and the others, who had already rushed to the capital of the Wood Nation, were also stunned. They had come to ask Kui Heng for help. The 9 heavens of the outer world had already descended. If they were not stopped now, there would definitely be a huge calamity. All the living beings in the heaven realm would probably find it difficult to escape. After all, this scarlet calamity was different from the previous ones. The 9 heavens of the outer world had personally arrived. Their boundless might suppressed the 9,000 heavenly regions. This was not something anyone who had not reached this realm could resist at all. Other than letting experts on the same level as them attack, there was no other way. Therefore, when the phenomenon and pressure swept through the world, they rushed to the capital of the Wood Nation as quickly as possible, wanting to ask Kui Hung to attack. In their opinion, in the current heaven realm, only Kui Hung could save them. However, they did not expect to sense the powerful might of the golden light and the inexplicable familiarity as soon as they arrived at the palace where Kui Hung lived. Lian Heng, Qin Tang, Wang Qi, and the other masters of the immortal Tao sects were all experts who had seen the Lord of the Heavenly Court with their own eyes. They had also personally felt how terrifying the pressure of the Lord of the Heavenly Court was. Therefore, the moment the golden light soared into the sky, they recognized the person with the aura. It was the Lord of the Heavenly Court who had been suppressed and sealed for 500,000 years. He had really escaped the seal. Thank you for reading on my box novel. But even so, this noble and dignified aura was still incomparably dense. He was wearing a golden emperor's robe and a jade crown. He stood simply in the void, as if he was still in the ancient heavenly court and could rule everything. If he wanted the sky to open, the sky would open. If he wanted the ground to split apart, the ground would split apart. If he wanted the great Tao to distort, it would distort. If he wanted the laws to gather, they would gather. He was like the ruler of all the great Tao laws in the world, and also the controller of all living beings. It was as if everything was done as he pleased and his wishes were fulfilled. Nothing and no living beings could disobey his will. This was the supreme ruler who once ruled the entire heaven realm and this star field. The Lord of the Heavenly Court. Facing such an expert, the 9 heavens of the outer world were all on high alert. Standing at the front, Heavenly Venerate Zhong looked at the Lord of the Heavenly Court coldly. Heavenly Venerate Shi was prepared to attack at any time. The others stood up and prepared the treasures in their hands, ready to launch a thunderous attack at any time. The Lord of the Heavenly Court seemed to be quite relaxed. He stood quietly in the air and glanced at the 9 people gently. He chuckled and said, "You're all here. Thank you. Thank you." What was he thanking them for? When the 9 heavens of the outer world heard this, they could not help but be stunned. They did not understand what the Lord of the Heavenly Court meant. Only Heavenly Venerate Zhong raised his eyebrows slightly, as if he had some guesses. It doesn't matter if you don't understand now. You'll find out soon. The Lord of the Heavenly Court seemed to be very satisfied with the reaction of the 9 heavens. He suddenly opened his arms and looked up at the sky. Then, 6 lights of different colors appeared behind him, immediately making his aura and pressure even stronger. His strength could even be said to have increased by leaps and bounds. These 6 lights of different colors were like a special treasure that could directly increase one's strength, directly increasing the power of the Lord of the Heavenly Court to a much higher level. It was really unbelievable. After all, at the realm of the Lord of the Heavenly Court, it was extremely difficult to obtain even the slightest improvement. It could even be said to be almost impossible, let alone an explosive increase in strength. But now, such a thing really happened. What were those 6 rays of lights? They actually had such powerful might and the effect was so shocking. This was the question in the hearts of everyone who was paying attention to this battle. However, the 9 heavens, who were standing opposite the Lord of the Heavenly Court, did not seem surprised. It was as if they recognized these 6 lights and understood what they were. They did not show any surprise. Heavenly Venerate Zhong stared at the Lord of the Heavenly Court who was enveloped by these 6 rays of lights and sneered, "After 500,000 years, you can only rely on their power. What's the difference between now and 500,000 years ago?" As he spoke, a ray of light also appeared behind him. However, there was only one ray of light, but it had also increased his strength distinctively. Moreover, when the light behind Heavenly Venerate Zhong appeared, the other 8 people directly released a ray of light as well to increase their strength. For a moment, various colors shone in the sky of the heaven realm, but no one knew what these lights were. Now, it was the Lord of the Heavenly Court who had revealed 6 lights, and his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Although each of the 9 heavens of the outer world only revealed a ray of light, there were 9 of them after all. There were a total of 9 rays of lights. The 9 lights condensed into an incomparably huge light wheel in the void. Then, it rolled towards the 6 lights possessed by the Lord of the Heavenly Court. Heavenly Venerate Zhong was very confident in this confrontation. In his opinion, this battle was just a continuation of the battle 500,000 years ago. The Lord of the Heavenly Court still only had 6 lights, but it was different on his side. They had 9 rays of light. 500,000 years ago, Heavenly Venerate Zhong and the others relied on these 9 lights to complete the suppression and sealing of the Lord of the Heavenly Court. Now, it was still possible. The advantage of 9 rays of lights against 6 was clear. Heavenly Venerate Zhong and the others were as confident as they were 500,000 years ago. Of course, confidence was not arrogance. While condensing the 9 rays of lights to attack the Lord of the Heavenly Court, they were also prepared to retreat if they failed. After all, this was the Heaven Realm, a place that the Lord of the Heavenly Court had resided in for millions of years. They had to be cautious when fighting in the enemy territory. Just as the light wheel condensed from the 9 rays of light were about to attack the 6 lights manifested by the Lord of the Heavenly Court. Behind the Lord of the Heavenly Court, 6 more lights of different colors suddenly lit up and fused with the 6 lights, turning into a complete body. The 12 lights gathered into a huge ring of light and collided with the light wheel on the spot. Boom! At this moment, it was as if the entire heaven realm was trembling. No matter how earth-shattering the battle outside was, as long as they arrived at the palace where Quiheng lived, they would not be affected. This place was still calm and unaffected. However, this did not mean that Quiheng was not concerned about the changes in the outside world. After Lian Heng, Qin Tang, Wang Qi, and the others obtained Quiheng's permission to enter, they realized that there was an incomparably huge light screen floating in the air. The situation of the battle between the 9 heavens and the Lord of the Heavenly Court was clearly displayed on this light screen. At this moment, the scene on the light screen was the scene of the light wheel colliding with the huge light ring. There were clearly only 21 rays lights in total, but it gave off the feeling that countless lights of different colors were colliding. The great Tao laws of the entire heaven realm were triggered. The sky wailed, the ground trembled, and angry roars sounded in the void. It was as if the entire heaven realm had entered a combat state. Therefore, even through this light screen, they could clearly feel the immense power produced by the collision of the 2 sides, making Lian Heng and the others feel their scalps tingle and their souls tremble. Greetings, Senior. After Lian Heng and the others regained their senses, they hurriedly bowed respectfully to Quiheng. Amen. Quiheng nodded slightly and waved at them. He smiled and said, "Come over and take a look at their battle situation first. There's no need to be too worried." At this moment, Hui Shi, Pei Qingshu, Zheng Nanxuan, the yellow-scarfed strongman, Li Mingcheng, and the others came to his side and stared at the scene on the light screen. Lian Heng and the others also walked over and stood closer to look at the light screen. At this moment, the first round of confrontation between the light wheel and the light ring had already ended. The 9 heavens and the Lord of the Heavenly Court began the second round of confrontation and used their divine powers. Achem! Quiheng suddenly exclaimed softly. He stared at the 2 sides on the light screen and narrowed his eyes slightly. Suddenly, he asked the people beside him, "Do you feel that the divine powers and techniques of the 9 heavens and the Lord of the Heavenly Court are familiar?" A familiar feeling. Everyone was stunned. Hui Shi, the yellow-scarfed strongman, and Li Mingcheng shook their heads. None of them felt that way. "I don't feel that it's familiar." Zheng Nanxuan stared at the scene on the light screen thoughtfully and said hesitantly, "But I feel that their techniques look similar. They look like they're from the same sect." Everyone nodded slightly. This was normal. Whether it was the Lord of the Heavenly Court or the 9 heavens of the outer world, they were actually the followers of the God of Creation. Their divine powers and skills were all learned from the God of Creation, so they were naturally similar. "Master, I vaguely feel that it's a little familiar, but this familiarity is unbelievable." Pei Qingshu frowned and said, I actually feel that their divine powers and techniques have a hint of similarity with the Daoyi Palace's martial techniques. Daoyi Palace? Lian Heng and the others did not understand, but Hui Shi, the yellow-scarfed strongman, Li Mingcheng, Zheng Nanxuan, and the others were stunned. How was this possible? That was only an ordinary martial sect on Daoju Star. Even if they improved later on, their strongest expert was only at the Golden Immortal Realm. The two sides fighting now were experts who stood at the peak of a star field. How could their divine powers be similar to the Daoyi Palace's martial techniques? Indeed. However, Kui Heng actually nodded in agreement. He stared at the scene on the light screen and said in a low voice, whether it's the 9 heavens of the outer world or the Lord of the Heavenly Court. The foundation of their divine powers and techniques come from the same source as the martial techniques of Daoyi Palace. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. The divine powers and techniques of the 9 heavens and the Lord of the Heavenly Court of the outer world came from the same source as Daoyi Palace. The divine powers and techniques of the 9 heavens and the Lord of the Heavenly Court of the outer world came from the same source as Daoyi Palace. How was this possible? Hui Shi, Pei Qingshu, Zheng Nanxuan, Li Mingcheng, and the others revealed expressions of disbelief. If Kui Heng hadn't said this, they definitely wouldn't have believed a word of it. After all, be it the 9 heavens of the outer world or the Lord of the Heavenly Court, the difference between Daoyi Palace and them was too great. There was no comparison at all. This was a world of difference. But now, Kui Heng said that they came from the same source. It was too bizarre. With such a huge difference, how could they come from the same source? If they really came from the same source, then the inheritance of Daoyi Palace had the same origins as the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens of the outer world. But if that was the case, how could the current Daoyi Palace be so weak? Compared to the strength of the 9 heavens and the Lord of the Heavenly Court, the Daoyi Palace on Daoju Star was extremely small and weak. Actually, you don't have to be puzzled. Kui Heng had long expected their reaction. He stared at the light curtain and said in a low voice, "The establishment of Daoyi Palace came from the Dao God. This Dao God is not a simple person." As soon as these words were spoken, Li Mingcheng nodded in agreement. The reason why he came to the heaven realm back then was because of the Dao God. In this era where the door of heaven was closed and the heaven realm was isolated from the mortal world, the Dao God could send him to the heaven realm. Clearly, he had extraordinary methods. Could it be that the Dao God is also one of the 36 followers of the God of Creation? Pei Qingshu guessed. The Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens of the outer world's divine powers and techniques come from the same source. It should be because they were all taught by the God of Creation. If the Dao God is one of the followers of the God of Creation, then it's normal for the Daoyi Palace inheritance he established to be the same as the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens of the outer world. All right. Kui Heng nodded slightly and said, "This is indeed very likely. However, the problem is that if the Dao God really has such an identity, his strength must have already crossed the 3rd heavenly ladder. Why would such an expert escape from the 9 heavens cloud realm because of the battle of the sages and even establish a Daoyi Palace on Daoju Star that only has the strength of the mystic deity realm?" Hui Shi, Pei Qingshu, Zheng Nanxuan, Li Mingcheng, and the others fell silent. This was indeed very strange. In short, the Dao God they had always understood was only a limitless golden immortal. At most, he was a sage. Everything he did belonged to this level. Other than sending Li Mingcheng to the heaven realm, he did not look like an ancient expert who had once followed the God of Creation. Perhaps something has happened to the Dao God, or he's secretly plotting something, Kui Heng said thoughtfully. He looked at the scene on the light screen. Perhaps they know something. He planned to observe for a while longer. After completely confirming the exact level of the 21 rays of lights, he would directly attack and capture the 9 heavens and the Lord of the Heavenly Court. At this point, there was no need to take things slow. That was because Kui Heng had already confirmed their strength. The Lord of the Heavenly Court, an expert who stood at the top of the 12 heaven gate realms, had still not reached the early stage soul formation realm. It could only be said that he had some soul formation characteristics. However, it was much weaker in terms of quality. The 6 people on the 12th Heaven Gate realm were much weaker than the Lord of the Heavenly Court. The main reason was that they had fewer soul formation characteristics, and the quality of the characteristics were also worse. With such strength, even when Kui Heng had just broken through to the early stage soul formation realm, he only needed a casual move to deal with the power brought about by those soul formation characteristics to suppress or even kill them all. The reason why he did not attack now was because of the 21 rays of lights. Kui Heng felt an extremely powerful force from these lights. They contained extremely dense soul formation characteristics. Even if it was just one ray of light, it was countless times stronger than the 12th Heaven Gate realm. If these 21 lights are combined, they might really be comparable to an early-stage soul formation cultivator. Kui Heng stared at the scene displayed on the light screen. He sighed again. Fortunately, he was cautious enough. If he had encountered these 21 rays of lights attacking him when he had just broken through to the early-stage soul formation realm, he would probably have to spend a lot of effort to deal with them. Moreover, these 21 rays of lights are connected to each other, as if they're a single entity. If they really fuse together, their power will probably be even stronger. It's not appropriate to attack rashly. Kui Heng thought to himself, I'll observe for a while longer. When they activate the power of these lights a few more times, I'll be able to determine their exact strength. Only then will things be foolproof. Rumble. At this moment, an earth-shattering trembling sound surged over from all directions, actually causing the clouds above the palace to move a few inches. The light wheel and ring condensed from the 21 rays of light collided extremely violently again, causing the entire heaven realm to undergo a tremendous change. Countless great Tao laws appeared passively, forming belts of light of different colors. These belts of light were either horizontal in the sky, dyeing the sky with countless colors, or sweeping through the void. Even the mountains and rivers on the ground were dyed with all kinds of colors. The entire heaven realm became strange. Those ancient sects and immortal orthodoxies that were usually high and mighty had all become flustered. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Under such a huge collision of power, even the aftershock could turn them to ashes. Under such a huge collision of power, even the aftershock could turn them to ashes. It was only at this moment that they understood that only their realm and strength were the foundation. Other than that, everything else was fake. But it was too late to wake up now. In the confrontation between the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens of the outer world, during the process of the 21 lights colliding, an unprecedented destructive power appeared in this heaven realm. Countless colors overlapped and intertwined with each other. Under the strange scene, countless laws collapsed, and the sea of heaven-earth origin chi collapsed. Now the stronger the cultivation realm, the more dangerous it was for the experts who were closely related to everything in the world. Every moment, gods, or heavenly gods, would suddenly explode. As for the experts who had stepped into the 12th Heaven Gate realm, the Heaven Gate characteristics in their bodies were also pulled and shook, showing signs of explosion. Such a situation almost spread throughout the entire heaven realm. It was far more serious than the Scarlet Calamity 500,000 years ago. If this continued for a longer time, the entire heaven realm might suffer a disaster. However, neither the Lord of the Heavenly Court nor the 9 heavens could back down at all. Once they retreated at this moment, they would definitely be consigned to eternal damnation. Master, the heaven realm is going to be in chaos. Pei Qingshu felt the changes in the nomological Tao runes in the world and said in shock, how many living beings in the heaven realm can survive such a calamity? This is the time for the Yellow Heaven sect to be effective, Kui Heng said in a low voice. As long as one joins the Yellow Heaven sect, they can be protected by my power and not be swept away by the aftershock. As for the others who had not joined the Yellow Heaven sect, they could only pray for themselves. Next, he would capture the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens. He would also capture the 21 lights. At that time, the source of the calamity would be captured, and the people in the heaven realm would naturally not be in any danger. Now, I want to bring over some people from the starry skies below. Kui Heng's eyes closed slightly, as if he was sensing some kind of connection. Bring over. Pei Qingshu was stunned. Yes. Kui Heng nodded slightly. The heaven realm is the core of the great Tao laws of a galaxy. It will directly affect the myriad worlds and starry skies below. Now that the heaven realm is in such turmoil, the commotion below will be even greater. Then, he raised his hand and pointed at the void in front of him. A door of light appeared out of thin air. A vortex spun in it, as if it led to an unknown place. Pei Qingshu, Hui Shi, Zheng Nanxuan, and the others all felt a familiar aura from the door of light. Their faces immediately revealed expressions of disbelief as they exclaimed in unison. Door of heaven? This door of light was clearly connected to the heaven realm and the mortal world. It was completely identical to the normal door of heaven. Something like that. Kui Heng nodded. At this moment, he already knew the heaven realm extremely well. Especially after seeing the strength of the 9 heavens and the Lord of the Heavenly Court, his understanding of the heaven realm immediately became more comprehensive. This also allowed Kui Heng to communicate more deeply with the heaven realm. While this increased his cultivation speed, he also understood many unknown deep great Tao laws of the heaven realm. One of them was the operating principle of the door of heaven. To Kui Heng, since he knew the principle, he could easily create another door of heaven. It was not difficult. It was very simple. Now, this door of light had established a connection with the starry skies below. Hence, Kui Heng shouted in a low voice, "Open." 1. Buzz. There was a trembling sound. The vortex in the middle of the door of light immediately opened, and the dark and deep boundless starry sky immediately appeared. Immediately after, streams of light flew out of the door of light and entered the boundless starry sky. As the heaven realm was the core of the laws and principles of a galaxy, with such a huge commotion appearing in the heaven realm, the myriad worlds below were naturally affected. At the same time that the light wheel and ring collided, causing the great Tao laws of the heaven realm to collapse, an incomparably terrifying calamity happened in the endless starry skies. One star after another was instantly extinguished, and entire galaxies fell into darkness. Then, they were reduced to ashes in a huge energy fluctuation and ceased to exist. Even the most incomparably powerful civilizations of the past seemed insignificant in the face of this sudden disaster. They were all like the most humble ants, unable to resist at all. Under such a great calamity, be it ordinary people without any cultivation or ascension realm experts standing at the peak of the 9 realms of the immortal world, there was no difference. If they wanted to live, they could only rely on luck. However, the range of the energy fluctuations and nomological fluctuations this time was too huge. Moreover, it was still rapidly expanding with the heaven realm as the core, almost affecting the entire star field. With such a huge range, Tai Hong Star, the 5 Views realm, the Purple Sun realm, and other places were actually already within the range of influence. The laws inside and outside the realm also began to collapse. Only the area where Daoju Star was located was not affected at all. It was as stable as ever. All of this naturally could not escape Kui Heng's perception. He had left many spirit marks in the starry skies below using the myriad heavens teleportation immortal incantation. Now that these spirit marks had turned into his perception points, he could sense the surroundings through them. Just as the living beings in these areas were feeling despair, a door of light suddenly descended from the sky and entered their eyes. Immediately after, a dignified voice sounded. "You can ascend to the heavens and avoid the calamity. You can ascend to the heavens and avoid the calamity." 1. Kui Heng's voice sounded in many starry skies and realms at the same time. Countless living beings heard this voice, immediately reigniting hope in the people who had already fallen into extreme despair. Especially the people from the 5 Views realm and the Purple Sun realm. It's exalted immortal Kui Heng's voice. "That's great. Exalted immortal Kui Heng has come to save us. Exalted immortal, please bless us. We're saved." Countless people cheered and flew into the sky. Although there was only one door of light, it was not crowded at all. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. The light wheel collided with the light ring. With the impact, endless dermas and logos shattered, and the great Tao of the heaven realm was about to be destroyed. The light wheel collided with the light ring. With the impact, endless dharmas and logos shattered, and the great Tao of the heaven realm was about to be destroyed. Clearly, the essence of these 21 rays of light was extremely high and had unbelievable power. If they continued to fight wantonly and vent their power, the entire heaven realm would probably collapse and countless living beings would be directly destroyed. The consequences would be unimaginable. However, neither the Lord of the heavenly court nor the 9 heavens of the outer world seemed to care much about this. They were all using their techniques with all their might to suppress each other, as if they did not know how great the damage would be if this continued. At this moment, the land outside the Wood Nation that was not under the protection of the Yellow Heaven sect was already a world-shattering scene. Mountains hundreds of thousands of feet tall had collapsed, and the ground was split into pieces. Earth fire spewed out and scorched the ground. Thick smoke also rose into the air, covering the sky. It was a complete apocalyptic scene. In such an environment, countless living beings died every moment. Moreover, they would die without an intact corpse or even be reduced to ashes. At this moment, the entire heaven realm was the scene of the most terrifying purgatory. Actually, these could all be avoided. With the power displayed by the Lord of the heavenly court, he only needed to divert a trace of insignificant power to prevent the living beings from dying. However, he did not do so. He even used some special authority to begin to extract the origin energy of the heaven realm and augment himself to increase his strength. After Kui Heng saw such a scene, he could not bear to see the living beings suffer like this, so he sent a trace of his power to protect their souls and sent them into the reincarnation space. This could be considered as giving them a new life. 1. When Kui Heng attacked, the battle between the Lord of the heavenly court and the 9 heavens was at its most intense stage. At this moment, the Lord of the heavenly court stood in the sky and looked down at the 9 heavens. Under his control, the light ring condensed from the 12 lights formed a huge suppression on the light wheel condensed from the 9 lights. However, there were several people in the 9 heavens who had formed their Tao in a certain part of the heaven realm. The heaven realm was also considered their home ground. There were also 6 12th heaven gate realm powerhouses, so they could barely resist the attacks of the Lord of the heavenly court. However, as the Lord of the heavenly court continued to use the identity of the will of the heaven realm to extract the origin energy of the heaven realm to strengthen himself, the advantage of the 9 heavens was quickly weakened and they gradually began to fall into a disadvantageous position. Give up. You don't stand a chance. The Lord of the heavenly court was satisfied and revealed an extremely happy smile. It's really been hard on you to cross the star field to send the remaining 9 divine lights over. Thank you for helping me attain the Tao. How exactly did you obtain those 6 divine lights? Heavenly Venerate Zhong's expression was extremely gloomy. He gritted his teeth and said, "They're all hidden in the deepest part of the heaven gate. You have no chance of obtaining them at all. I'll tell you after I take the position of the God of creation, ha ha ha." The Lord of the heavenly court laughed incomparably happily, as if he had finally succeeded in a scheme that he had planned for a long time. He was exceedingly happy. At the same time, his aura and pressure rose again, and it spiked extremely quickly. Almost every breath he took increased his strength by 10%. 1. In the blink of an eye, the aura and power displayed by the Lord of the heavenly court doubled compared to before. This immediately formed an absolute suppression on the 9 heavens. Boom! With an earth-shattering bang, the light wheel collided with the light ring again. However, this time, unlike before, with the inexplicable increase in aura and power of the Lord of the heavenly court and the enhancement of the origin energy of the heaven realm, the power of the light ring directly obtained a crushing victory. The light wheel controlled by the 9 heavens of the outer world was actually sent flying. After shattering countless great Tao laws, it actually collapsed into 9 individual rays of lights again and landed in the hands of the 9 heavens of the foreign realm. At this moment, the aura and pressure of the Lord of the heavenly court immediately reached the peak. His figure seemed to fill the entire heaven realm and was reflected in the eyes of every living being. In contrast, he had extracted more than half of the origin power of the heaven realm, causing the mountains, rivers, sky, earth, and great Tao laws to become incomparably fragile. The essence of the entire heaven realm had fallen a lot. Of course, the most serious thing was the number of deaths of the living beings in the heaven realm. In the few confrontations just now, more than half of the living beings had already been reduced to ashes. In the vast territory of the 9,000 heavenly regions, more than half of the endless living beings had died in just a few breaths. If not for Kui Heng protecting their souls and extracting these living beings into the reincarnation space to activate their rebirth, it could really be said that the living beings would have been plunged into misery and suffering, with endless souls being destroyed. Even so, it was extremely shocking that half of the 9,000 heavenly regions was wiped out. The Lord of the Heavenly Court did not care about this at all. He did not even look at the living beings on the ground. From beginning to end, he had been staring at the 9 rays of divine lights. After discovering that the light wheel had disintegrated into divine light and landed in the palm of the 9 heavens, the eyes of the Lord of the Heavenly Court seemed to light up and instantly became incomparably bright. That's great. This is all mine now. Ha ha ha. The Lord of the Heavenly Court could not help but laugh loudly. He circulated the power in his body and activated the light ring condensed from the 12 lights, encircling the 9 heavens of the outer world. Immediately after, the 9 lights in the hands of the 9 heavens seemed to have been pulled by a powerful suction force and forcefully escaped their control, flying towards the light ring. No. Stop. What are you trying to do? At this moment, the 9 heavens of the outer world panicked as they looked at the 9 lights that flew towards the ring of light in extreme shock. They didn't seem to be just afraid of the reunification of the 21 lights. They seemed to be afraid of an unknown existence. However, at this moment, it was meaningless for anyone to stop him. Moreover, the 9 heavens had no power to stop the collection of the 9 lights. They could only watch helplessly as the 9 lights gathered towards the ring of light. The 21 lights were about to be unified. At this momento rumble. In an instant, a supreme pressure that seemed to collapse the sky, shatter the universe, and destroy the great Tao suddenly descended. What followed was a huge hand flickering with 5-colored lightning. The palm was dark and contained all laws and principles. Crack, crack, crack. There were sounds of shattering in the void, and there were also sounds of great Tao laws collapsing. It was the huge hand that was crushing down. Under this pressure, everything seemed to be useless and not worth mentioning. The Lord of the Heavenly Court, who had personally seen the huge hand descend from the sky, was completely stunned. His eyes widened as he looked up in disbelief. He did not even dodge. At this moment, he felt that this huge hand had already covered the entire heaven realm. No living being could escape the range of this huge hand. Even if he escaped from the heaven realm and into the endless starry skies, it was impossible for him to resist the capture of this huge hand. Boom. Suddenly, there was another muffled sound. It turned out that the 9 lights had collapsed again and failed to fuse together. In the end, the 21 lights did not complete their convergence. However, this also made the Lord of the Heavenly Court suddenly recover from his extreme fear. He actually became surprisingly calm when facing this huge hand. The only way now is to rely on the power of these divine lights to fight to the death. The Lord of the Heavenly Court instantly made up his mind. He immediately circulated the power in his body and began to reactivate the light halo, trying to launch a counterattack against the huge hand. This time, the power erupting from the light halo was far stronger than before. It actually formed a human-shaped phantom in the void and immediately displayed a terrifying pressure that could envelop the entire heaven realm. Moreover, the nature of this pressure was extremely special. It gave off a familiar feeling, as if the creator of this world had returned. It was simply unbelievable. This feeling was extremely strong. Even Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others who were standing on Kui Heng's side could not help but want to worship him, but they were stopped by Pei Qingshu and Hui Shi. Could the power of this halo really withstand the attack of this huge hand? Many people subconsciously had similar guesses. But before they could think carefully, the huge hand had already slapped down fiercely. The human-shaped phantom with a terrifying pressure was instantly crushed like a dream. Immediately after, the halo condensed from the 12 lights seemed to have been frozen with all its power. It was directly slapped into individual rays of light by the huge hand and returned to their original appearance. At the same time, The other 9 rays of light were also sucked into the palm of the huge hand and placed at a certain distance from the 12 lights. This sudden change not only stunned the Lord of the heavenly court, but also left the 9 heavens at a loss. What was going on? Where did such a terrifying expert come from? He actually instantly suppressed the Lord of the heavenly court, who was standing at the peak of the 12 heaven gate realms and even controlled the 12 divine lights. He even shattered that halo so easily. It was simply unbelievable. Was this the reappearance of the God of creation? Under these shocked and disbelieving gazes, the huge hand grabbed the Lord of the heavenly court, the 9 heavens of the outer world, and the 21 divine lights and returned to the palace in the capital of the Wood Nation. Then, in front of everyone, he casually threw the Lord of the heavenly court and the 9 heavens of the outer world to the ground. The 21 rays of light floated on both sides of his body. On one side, there were 9, and on the other, there were 12. The 2 sides were isolated and could not gather together. "You, who exactly are you?" The Lord of the heavenly court looked at Kui Heng in surprise. He also noticed Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others and was even more puzzled. When did such an expert appear in the heaven realm? The 9 heavens did not say anything and only looked at Kui Heng in surprise. The series of changes that had just happened had completely exceeded their understanding. It was too incredible. "It's not time for you to ask me questions." Kui Heng shook his head gently and ignored the question of the Lord of the heavenly court. Instead, he turned to look at the 12 lights on his left. Then, he raised his hand and waved. A ray of light flew out and landed in his palm. Then, the light slowly dissipated, and the thing wrapped in it gradually appeared. It was actually a skull. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com1. This skull was as white as jade, and the entire surface was suffused with a faint green light. It was incomparably pure, as if it was the most perfect creation. It was exquisite and flawless. This skull was as white as jade, and the entire surface was suffused with a faint green light. It was incomparably pure, as if it was the most perfect creation. It was exquisite and flawless. Any living being who saw this skull would feel extremely refreshed. They would feel that their body and mind had been sublimated like never before, and their entire body had become different. If someone with a profound cultivation realm saw this skull, they would still feel like they were facing the origin of the great Tao. They would naturally comprehend the endless mysteries of the world, and their realm and cultivation would increase exponentially. To experts who had stepped into the 12th heaven gate realm, the Tao runes, Dharma, and logos contained in this skull were enough to increase their strength by several times or even more. It was definitely a supreme treasure. And these effects and everything else were actually naturally produced. As long as one saw this skull, they would immediately sense a series of feelings and experiences. They would not even have a chance to react or think. It was very easy to be intoxicated. Moreover, this influence was huge. Other than the Lord of the heavenly court, the 9 heavens of the outer world who had crossed the 3rd heavenly ladder, and Kui Heng himself, everyone present was actually affected by this skull. Cough, cough. Kui Heng coughed lightly and shot out a trace of insignificant soul power to eliminate the effect of this skull. This also brought the Lord of the heavenly court back to his senses. Then, he looked at the skull in shock, his eyes filled with disbelief. Especially the Lord of the heavenly court, who once possessed this light, he was even more shocked. This divine light had been held by him for hundreds of years, but he had never discovered that the core of this divine light was actually a skull. Why was it a human skull? This was one of the 21 strongest divine lights left behind by the God of creation. Why was there a skull at the core of the light? It was too bizarre and shocking. But beyond the shock and bizarreness, something that even made him wonder if he was hallucinating quickly happened. After taking out a skull from one of the divine lights, Kui Heng seemed to be filled with interest in investigating the essence of these divine lights. He turned to look at the other divine lights. He gently raised his hand and grabbed. Another ray of light flew out and landed in his palm. This light was clearly more active. After being imprisoned in Kui Heng's palm, this light kept circling and struggling, trying to rush out of Kui Heng's palm. Clearly, this was impossible. Then, Kui Heng grabbed the ray of light in his palm and shook it gently. The light enveloping its surface immediately flickered as if it had suffered a huge impact, as if it could be destroyed at any time. Bang! With a muffled sound, this light dissipated with an explosion. What was originally covered in the light was finally revealed. It was a leg. A leg was actually hidden in the light. To be precise, it should be a withered leg and foot. It looked like a left leg. Although there was still skin and flesh on it, it no longer had any luster. It was extremely dark and looked like tree bark that had been dried for countless years. It did not have any vitality. This was completely different from the activity displayed by the light. After seeing this withered left leg, Kui Heng fell into deep thought. Then, he looked at the skull and thought to himself, could it be that these 21 lights are all a pile of broken limbs? This was very likely. After all, these 21 lights were all connected to each other. From the relationship between the skull and the left leg, this connection could also be the connection between the broken limbs. At this moment, be it the Lord of the Heavenly Court, the 9 heavens of the outer world, or the masters of the immortal orthodoxies, all of them revealed dumbfounded expressions. They did not expect that there would be such a thing in these lights. It was really unbelievable. Let's see what's in the other lights. Kui Heng thought to himself. At the same time, he raised his hands and grabbed the remaining lights in one breath. Immediately after, under the cleansing of his dharmic powers, the remaining 19 lights dissipated one after another, and the things wrapped in them gradually revealed themselves. Then, everyone's gazes froze, and they all revealed expressions of disbelief. Other than the skull at the beginning and the left leg and foot just now, there was also the right leg and foot, as well as both arms and hands. They were all extremely withered and did not have any vitality. Including the skull, when combined, it formed 4 limbs and a head. However, these were only the things in 5 of the lights. Other than that, there were 16 more rays of light. As the light that enveloped them dissipated, these broken body parts that had been sealed for countless years appeared. There was a heart that was still thumping, as well as the liver, spleen, lungs, kidneys. These were the 5 internal organs. Surprisingly, they had not withered. This left only 11. Skin, blood, intestines, blood vessels, left eye, left ear, spine, ribs, hair, everything appeared. Moreover, after these broken limbs and body parts appeared, they began to naturally gather. Clearly, these broken limbs and fragments came from the same person. Moreover, this person was definitely incomparably powerful. After all, these 21 rays of light had power that surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms. If their powers could be fused, they could even touch the threshold of the soul formation realm. He did not expect it to be transformed from a person's corpse. Then who could this broken corpse be? What level of existence was he? If he had to make a baseless guess, the first person Kui Heng thought of was the god of creation. As the founder of the heaven realm, he suddenly disappeared at the most critical moment of the heaven realm's development. It was indeed not normal. It was very likely that he did not take the initiative to leave. Instead, it was because of some unforeseen event that he died and split apart into 21 fragments. He was even sealed in the 21 divine lights to conceal his identity. However, this situation was too terrifying. The strength of the god of creation was not weak. It was even possible that he was a soul formation existence. It was really unbelievable that he would be dismembered to this extent. Kui Heng turned to look at the Lord of the Heavenly Court and said in a low voice, "Did any phenomena happen when the god of creation left?" Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. Strange phenomenon? Strange phenomenon? The Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens subconsciously thought back, but they shook their heads. Oh! Kui Heng was stunned when he saw this. Then, he smiled and said, "Everyone, tell me about the situation when the god of creation left. How about that?" As soon as he asked this, the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens of the outer world seemed to have thought of something. Their faces revealed incomparable shock and even fear. You, one of the 9 heavens of the outer world, Heavenly Venerate Jiang could not help but say with a trembling voice, "You came from outside the star sea. Are you the peerless enemy that the god of creation mentioned?" At this moment, he seemed to have understood and thought through everything. He muttered, "No wonder. No wonder you have such strength. Are you a shattering realm expert who has completely surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms?" The others also looked enlightened, as if they had suddenly thought through their doubts. Peerless enemy? Kui Heng's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at Heavenly Venerate Jiang and said in a low voice, "What do you mean?" Heavenly Venerate Jiang was no longer as calm as he was in the Jiang Heavenly Palace. Facing an expert like Kui Heng, he was very flustered, and his thoughts were very chaotic. It was difficult for him to organize his words. "Allow me." At this moment, the Lord of the Heavenly Court suddenly spoke. Unlike Heavenly Venerate Jiang's panic, his expression had already become calm. Back then, when the God of Creation preached in the boundless Tao realm, he often mentioned that he had a peerless enemy outside the star sea. According to the description of the Lord of the Heavenly Court, the God of Creation often mentioned the existence of this peerless enemy. He did not hide it at all and even said that the strength of that peerless enemy was far above his. He even used this to urge the people who followed him to cultivate well and strive to reach the peak of the 12 heaven gate realms as soon as possible. If this star sea was found by that peerless enemy one day, they still had a chance to escape under his protection. In other words, if one did not even reach the 12th heaven gate realm, even with the cover of the God of Creation, they would not even have a chance to escape. However, although the God of Creation did not hide the existence of this peerless enemy and often mentioned it, he had never mentioned the details. Therefore, the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens only knew of the existence of such a peerless enemy and did not know how powerful this peerless enemy was. Until they suddenly met someone like Kui Heng, who could control them so easily and completely crush the divine light they had. So this was the strength that truly surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms. Even if they used the divine lights to forcefully possess power that surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms, compared to such strength, they were actually like ants, insignificant. It was too terrifying. The moment they came into contact with Kui Heng's power, they could clearly sense the powerful and agile force from him. It was simply unbelievable. It was too shocking. As expected of the peerless enemy of the God of Creation. He was really extremely powerful. In that case, you haven't seen that so-called peerless enemy even after the God of Creation left? Kui Heng said in surprise. No. The Lord of the Heavenly Court shook his head. The 9 heavens also shook their heads repeatedly. None of them had seen the so-called peerless enemy. However, when they heard Kui Heng's question, they also reacted. This mysterious expert who had captured them did not seem to be the peerless enemy of the God of Creation. Then why did he attack? What was his goal? The Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens were puzzled, but they did not dare to ask. Where did the light that wrapped these things come from? Kui Heng pointed at the broken limbs and suddenly changed the topic. The divine light in our hands was left behind for us by the God of Creation. Heavenly Venerate Zhong said. He was very calm and did not show much panic. His words were also very clear. The others nodded repeatedly, confirming Heavenly Venerate Zhong's words. 6 of the 12 lights I possessed were left to me by the God of Creation before he left. The Lord of the Heavenly Court's expression was normal, but he immediately added, the other 6 were taken out by me from the heaven gate of the 6 heavenly domains. Impossible. What nonsense. Heavenly Venerate Zhong said in a low voice, you clearly just escaped the seal. You've been sealed for hundreds of thousands of years. How can you ask someone to go to the heaven gate to obtain these divine lights? Moreover, these divine lights were personally placed into the heaven gate by the God of Creation. Even if one reached the peak of the 12 heaven gate realms, they would not be able to take them out. You. Zhu Juntian. The Lord of the Heavenly Court interrupted Heavenly Venerate Zhong and said indifferently, the person who contacted me was the artifact spirit of the door of heaven, Zhu Juntian. He is a living being personally created by the God of Creation and has grasped many unfathomable divine powers. The door of heaven is essentially a replica of the heaven gate, so he also has the ability to freely enter and exit the 6 heaven gates. With Zhu Juantian's identity and ability, he can still take out these 6 divine lights from the heaven gate. Zhu Juntian. When this name was suddenly mentioned, not only did it stun the 9 heavens, but it also made Kui Heng's expression turn solemn. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. Actually, he had a feeling earlier that Zhu Juantian's traces could not be missing from such an earth-shattering event. As expected, it was indeed so. It was related to Zhu Juntian again. When did you contact him? Heavenly Venerate Zhong was filled with disbelief. He could not understand how the Lord of the Heavenly Court had done all of this. That seal was constructed with the power of 9 divine lights, and when the Lord of the Heavenly Court was sealed, he only had 6 divine lights in his hands. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible to break through the seal and establish a connection with the outside world. The Lord of the Heavenly Court did not answer. He turned to look at Kui Heng and said very respectfully, "Senior, how exactly do you plan to deal with us?" Clearly, he had completely given up on resisting and handed his fate to Kui Heng. Kui Heng ignored his question and looked at the 21 pieces of body parts. He stared at the fragments and suddenly said, "Since these divine lights were left behind by the God of creation. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Strange phenomenon." The Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens subconsciously thought back, but they shook their heads. Oh! Kui Heng was stunned when he saw this. Then, he smiled and said, "Everyone, tell me about the situation when the God of creation left. How about that?" As soon as he asked this, the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens of the outer world seemed to have thought of something. Their faces revealed incomparable shock and even fear. One of the 9 heavens of the outer world, Heavenly Venerate Jiang could not help but say with a trembling voice, "You came from outside the star sea. Are you the peerless enemy that the God of creation mentioned?" At this moment, he seemed to have understood and thought through everything. He muttered, No wonder you have such strength. Are you a shattering realm expert who has completely surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms?" The others also looked enlightened, as if they had suddenly thought through their doubts. Peerless enemy? Kui Heng's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at Heavenly Venerate Jiang and said in a low voice, "What do you mean?" Heavenly Venerate Jiang was no longer as calm as he was in the Jiang Heavenly Palace. Facing an expert like Kui Heng, he was very flustered, and his thoughts were very chaotic. It was difficult for him to organize his words. "Allow me." At this moment, the Lord of the Heavenly Court suddenly spoke. Unlike Heavenly Venerate Jiang's panic, his expression had already become calm. Back then, when the God of creation preached in the boundless Tao realm, he often mentioned that he had a peerless enemy outside the star sea. According to the description of the Lord of the Heavenly Court, the God of creation often mentioned the existence of this peerless enemy. He did not hide it at all and even said that the strength of that peerless enemy was far above his. He even used this to urge the people who followed him to cultivate well and strive to reach the peak of the 12 heaven gate realms as soon as possible. If this star sea was found by that peerless enemy one day, they still had a chance to escape under his protection. In other words, if one did not even reach the 12th heaven gate realm, even with the cover of the God of creation, they would not even have a chance to escape. However, although the God of creation did not hide the existence of this peerless enemy and often mentioned it, he had never mentioned the details. Therefore, the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens only knew of the existence of such a peerless enemy and did not know how powerful this peerless enemy was. Until they suddenly met someone like Kui Heng, who could control them so easily and completely crush the divine light they had. So this was the strength that truly surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms. Even if they used the divine lights to forcefully possess power that surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms, compared to such strength, they were actually like ants, insignificant. It was too terrifying. The moment they came into contact with Kui Heng's power, they could clearly sense the powerful and agile force from him. It was simply unbelievable. It was too shocking. As expected of the peerless enemy of the God of creation. He was really extremely powerful. In that case, You haven't seen that so-called peerless enemy even after the god of creation left? Kui Heng said in surprise. No. The Lord of the Heavenly Court shook his head. The 9 heavens also shook their heads repeatedly. None of them had seen the so-called peerless enemy. However, when they heard Kui Heng's question, they also reacted. This mysterious expert who had captured them did not seem to be the peerless enemy of the god of creation. Then why did he attack? What was his goal? The Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens were puzzled, but they did not dare to ask. Where did the light that wrapped these things come from? Kui Heng pointed at the broken limbs and suddenly changed the topic. The divine light in our hands was left behind for us by the god of creation. Heavenly Venerate Zhong said. He was very calm and did not show much panic. His words were also very clear. The others nodded repeatedly, confirming Heavenly Venerate Zhong's words. 6 of the 12 lights I possessed were left to me by the god of creation before he left. The Lord of the Heavenly Court's expression was normal, but he immediately added, the other 6 were taken out by me from the heaven gate of the 6 heavenly domains. Impossible. What nonsense. Heavenly Venerate Zhong said in a low voice, you clearly just escaped the seal. You've been sealed for hundreds of thousands of years. How can you ask someone to go to the heaven gate to obtain these divine lights? Moreover, these divine lights were personally placed into the heaven gate by the god of creation. Even if one reached the peak of the 12 heaven gate realms, they would not be able to take them out. You. Zhu Juntian. The Lord of the Heavenly Court interrupted Heavenly Venerate Zhong and said indifferently, the person who contacted me was the artifact spirit of the door of heaven, Zhu Juntian. He is a living being personally created by the god of creation and has grasped many unfathomable divine powers. The door of heaven is essentially a replica of the heaven gate, so he also has the ability to freely enter and exit the 6 heaven gates. With Zhu Juntian's identity and ability, he can still take out these 6 divine lights from the heaven gate. Zhu Juntian. When this name was suddenly mentioned, not only did it stun the 9 heavens, but it also made Kui Heng's expression turn solemn. Actually, he had a feeling earlier that Zhu Juntian's traces could not be missing from such an earth-shattering event. As expected, it was indeed so. It was related to Zhu Juntian again. When did you contact him? Heavenly Venerate Zhong was filled with disbelief. He could not understand how the Lord of the Heavenly Court had done all of this. That seal was constructed with the power of 9 divine lights, and when the Lord of the Heavenly Court was sealed, he only had 6 divine lights in his hands. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible to break through the seal and establish a connection with the outside world. The Lord of the Heavenly Court did not answer. He turned to look at Kui Heng and said very respectfully, Senior, how exactly do you plan to deal with us? Clearly, he had completely given up on resisting and handed his fate to Kui Heng. Kui Heng ignored his question and looked at the 21 pieces of body parts. He stared at the fragments and suddenly said, since these divine lights were left behind by the god of creation. That seal was constructed with the power of 9 divine lights, and when the Lord of the Heavenly Court was sealed, he only had 6 divine lights in his hands. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible to break through the seal and establish a connection with the outside world. The Lord of the Heavenly Court did not answer. He turned to look at Kui Heng and said very respectfully, Senior, how exactly do you plan to deal with us? Clearly, he had completely given up on resisting and handed his fate to Kui Heng. Kui Heng ignored his question and looked at the 21 pieces of body parts. He stared at the fragments and suddenly said, since these divine lights were left behind by the god of creation. An incomparably dazzling and bright light filled the world. An incomparably dazzling and bright light filled the world. At this moment, the entire heaven realm was enveloped by a strange force. Under such power, the matter of reality seemed to have shattered into the most basic particles. All appearances were shattered, leaving only the most essential nomological Dao runes. Lu Qingzhu levitated high in the sky, as if she stood above everything. Her entire body was wrapped in pure light, like a goddess descending from an endless height, extremely holy. Just by standing in the air, She gave off the feeling that she was one with the origin of everything and could control the great Tao laws at will. It was as if the highest ruler of the heaven realm had returned to the world. Shattering void, reaching the origin. This is the shattering realm. The lord of the heavenly court was shocked as he looked at Lu Qingzhu in the sky in disbelief. He said in shock, how is this possible? How did you suddenly reach the shattering realm? The lord of the heavenly court was undoubtedly very familiar with Lu Qingzhu, the paragon of the plague sect. Back then, he was the one who ordered the execution of Lu Qingzhu. He was also the one who ordered her status to be reinstated and personally buried her. However, all of this was in preparation for himself. After Zhu Juntian took out the divine lights from the 6 heaven gates, he sent it to him through Lu Qingzhu. Throughout the entire process, Lu Qingzhu was just a pawn in the eyes of the Lord of the Heavenly Court. She was insignificant. He had never even considered if Lu Qingzhu would become a variable. In the eyes of the Lord of the Heavenly Court, Lu Qingzhu was only at the 9th heaven gate realm. She was too weak and could not set off any waves. However, he never expected that someone he had never really cared about would actually break through to the shattering realm. This was a realm that completely surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms. With just a thought, she could kill countless experts at the 12th heaven gate realm. Why did Lu Qingzhu suddenly reach this realm? This was impossible. The faces of the 9 heavens were also filled with disbelief. They almost suspected that they were hallucinating. When Lu Qingzhu suddenly came out to absorb the 21 pieces of body parts, they felt extremely puzzled. Who was this? Where did she come from? Why could she fuse with these 21 broken body parts? These broken parts were even stronger than the 12th heaven gate realm. How could a mere 9th heaven gate realm fuse with it? However, the final outcome left them dumbfounded. This woman from the 9th heaven gate realm had actually refined all 21 broken parts. She had even broken through to the shattering realm and possessed power that completely surpassed them. How could someone reach the shattering realm so easily? The entire process was filled with bizarreness and absurdity. It was really too ridiculous. At the same time that Lu Qingzhu broke through, the door of heaven opened. The many phenomena in the heaven realm were also reflected in the starry sky below. Countless living beings and civilizations that had survived the previous incident felt an extremely powerful aura and pressure. They also felt that they had been completely seen through and no longer had any secrets. Moreover, anyone who had reached the Creator realm could see the scene of the heaven realm through the omnipresent door of heaven and see the pure figure standing in the sky, enveloped in holy and flawless light. Such a scene had never appeared in the past 10,000 years, shocking countless ancient experts. Although they did not know what was happening in the heaven realm, they were still shocked and inexplicably stumped when they saw the commotion of this phenomenon. The star sea was extremely vast. The 6 cantilevers were divided into 6 heavenly domains that slowly rotated with the center of the star sea as the core. In fact, the core area in the center was the true main body of the star sea. It was like an incomparably huge bright silver disk. The cantilevers were the tentacles that extended from this disk. The core silver disk was very huge. The number of stars inside was in the billions, even exceeding the total number in the 6 cantilevers. However, there seemed to be some kind of barrier between the silver disk and the 6 cantilevers, cutting off their connection. If one had a wide enough perspective to look down on the entire star sea, they would be able to see that the core silver disk was enveloped by a faint layer of light, and there was an obvious estrangement from the extended cantilevers. The exact situation could not be seen clearly at all. It was very mysterious. At the edge of the star sea formed by the silver disk and cantilevers, there were many bright halos. They were all star clusters gathered at the edge of the starry sky and belonged to a part of the star sea. Every star cluster was like an independent realm, relatively isolated from the outside world. There were hundreds of thousands of stars among them, but most of them had already decayed or even fallen into decline, and could explode at any time. However, a star in such a situation was a good time to take materials and refine treasures. At this moment, a man in a daoist robe was sitting cross-legged in the middle of a halo star cluster. His eyes were slightly closed, and his figure was incomparably majestic. His entire body emitted a strange power that actually affected hundreds of thousands of stars and was deepening the refinement of them. Suddenly, the Daoist-robed man opened his eyes and looked in the direction of the sea of stars, landing on one of the cantilevered arms. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he chuckled. After waiting for so long, it's finally here. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he chuckled. After waiting for so long, it's finally here. With that, the Daoist-robed man stood up and spread his arms. In an instant, a huge amount of power began to gather with him as the core. It was as if a black hole had appeared in the middle of this halo star cluster and was absorbing the stars in the entire star cluster at an extremely fast speed. Whether it was the stars, planets, or other interstellar bodies, they all gathered towards the Daoist-robed man under this suction force. A moment later, this halo cluster condensed into a bead that emitted a sparkling light. This bead was only the size of an ordinary grain of rice and looked very exquisite. After the Daoist-robed man sized up the small bead, he nodded and said with a smile, "The quality is not bad." He casually threw this rice-sized bead into a cloth bag at his waist. There were also thousands of similar small beads in the cloth bag. Every small bead was a halo star cluster. It's been thousands of years since I left that place. I can go back and take a look. The Daoist-robed man smiled and disappeared from the spot. In the heaven realm, countless lights crisscrossed the world. These were countless great Tao laws that had been forcefully revealed by Lu Qingzhu's shattering power. Then, it was tampered with and distorted. This directly caused the laws of heaven and earth in the entire heaven realm to become a mess. There were even many contradictions. If this situation lasted longer, the heaven realm would definitely collapse. However, Lu Qingzhu seemed to be satisfied with this situation. A faint smile appeared on her cold and beautiful face. Her gaze swept in all directions, taking in all the living beings. In the end, it landed on the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens. Especially the Lord of the Heavenly Court and Heavenly Venerate Shi. She paused slightly when she saw them. The Lord of the Heavenly Court immediately tensed up when he was suddenly noticed by a shattering realm expert. He seemed to have become extremely nervous. Clearly, Lu Qingzhu's gaze gave him extreme pressure. However, Heavenly Venerate Shi at the side looked as if nothing had happened. Of course, this might also be because his entire body was made of stone. It was very difficult to see any obvious changes in his emotions. You've nurtured my remnant body for so long. It can be said that you've worked a lot. Lu Qingzhu suddenly spoke and praised the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens. She smiled and said, "To express my gratitude, I can satisfy your wish, your shared wish." The Lord of the Heavenly Court could not help but be stunned when he heard this. He did not understand what Lu Qingzhu wanted to do. The 9 heavens of the outer world looked at each other and exchanged some information with their eyes. In the end, Heavenly Venerate Zhong stood up and explained their wishes to Lu Qingzhu. "Senior, please kill this person." Heavenly Venerate Zhong bowed respectfully to Lu Qingzhu. At the same time, he pointed at Kui Heng on the other side. The pressure Kui Heng gave them earlier was too great. He had such strength, but he was actually an outsider from the lower world. He was really too dangerous. Therefore, in their opinion, as long as they could get rid of Kui Heng, everything was worth it. However, Lu Qingzhu shook her head when she heard this and sighed softly. "That won't do. This is my savior. After my tomb collapsed, he was the one who gave me a place to settle down." As she spoke, her tone suddenly turned cold. "You actually want me to kill my savior? Your heart is really vicious. You deserve to die." With that, Lu Qingzhu raised her right hand and circulated the shattering power in her body, gently pointing at Heavenly Venerate Zhong. Crack. At this moment, Heavenly Venerate Zhong felt something shatter in his body. And it was something that concerned his life. In the next moment, when he sensed that something was wrong with his body, he fell straight down on the spot and fell to the ground with a bang. There was no warning. He was dead. Heavenly Venerate Zhong died just like that. The remaining 8 of the 9 heavens were incomparably shocked to discover that Heavenly Venerate Zhong's death had begun at the moment he suddenly collapsed, which was after Lu Qingzhu spoke. Moreover, he was not killed in the conventional sense. His body was intact, and his soul was not damaged at all. But he was still dead. This was caused by the power of Lu Qingzhu's finger. This was what the power of shattering looked like. It could directly penetrate the appearance of everything and point to the essence. As long as one pierced through the essence of an object, it would be extremely easy to shatter its essence. Simply put, Lu Qingzhu had ignored all the cultivation realms, divine powers, and other methods of Heavenly Venerate Zhong and directly shattered the life of Heavenly Venerate Zhong on the most fundamental level of laws. This was an unblockable technique. Under normal circumstances, as long as one had not reached the shattering realm, any methods would be instantly seen through. Then, the power of shattering would shatter their essence through the appearance. There was no way to resist or defend against it. Its power was extremely terrifying. This was a complete suppression. Even billions of experts at the peak of the 12th Heaven Gate realm were meaningless in front of such shattering power. They would be shattered in an instant. In fact, to the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 9 heavens of the outer world, although they knew the name of the shattering realm, they did not know how powerful the combat strength of this realm was. But now, watching helplessly as Heavenly Venerate Zhong died inexplicably in front of them, an indescribable fear immediately rose in their hearts. What should they do? What should they do now? At this moment, no one dared to say what their wishes were. After all, the appearance that Lu Qingzhu had revealed was too temperamental. If they said something wrong, they might lose their life. However, Lu Qingzhu did not seem to like this strange silence. She frowned slightly and swept her gaze across the Lord of the Heavenly Court and the 8 people from the outer world. After sizing them up slightly, she actually turned her gaze to Kui Heng. "You're my savior. Do you have any wishes? I'll definitely help you fulfill them." Lu Qingzhu spoke softly. It sounded very pleasant, but Kui Heng was not moved at all. He only shook his head gently and did not even say a word. Behind Kui Heng, Hui Shi, Pei Qingshu, Zheng Nanshuan, the yellow-scarfed strongman, and the others stared at Lu Qingzhu warily. They were afraid that this temperamental expert would suddenly attack them for no reason. This was very likely. Lu Qingzhu's attack on Heavenly Venerate Zhong just now was very sudden, completely beyond everyone's expectations. "Why are you so cold?" Lu Qingzhu's attitude towards Kui Heng was still very kind. She slowly descended from the sky and smiled. "Do you not trust me? Who exactly are you?" Kui Heng asked with a frown. With his divine sense, he could clearly sense a problem. At this moment, Lu Qingzhu's aura was quite different from before. They were simply 2 completely different people. However, there were many similarities. "Me?" Lu Qingzhu pointed at herself and said with a smile, "Didn't you already know? I'm Lu Qingzhu, also Lin Qingzhu. I was once the paragon of the plague sect and also a disciple of the Daoyi sect on Daoju Star." As she spoke, she approached Kui Heng, her gaze sweeping across his body. "Aren't you afraid that Zhu Juntian will be angry if you look at me like that?" Kui Heng suddenly chuckled. Lu Qingzhu's expression turned cold as she said in a low voice, "You do have some methods such that I can't see through your appearance. However, the use of the power of shattering is not only applicable after seeing through your appearance." As she spoke, the shattering power on her body instantly became thousands of times denser, almost materializing. It was as if the sea was flowing backward, turning into a huge torrent that suddenly surged towards Kui Heng. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. The vast shattering power that was like a galaxy surged over, instantly enveloping Kui Heng and the void around him, wanting to seal off all his range of activity. The vast shattering power that was like a galaxy surged over, instantly enveloping Kui Heng and the void around him, wanting to seal off all his range of activity. Under the influence of the power of shattering, the appearance of matter began to shatter, leaving only the most basic laws and principles, maintaining their existence itself. However, the laws and principles that had lost their physical foundation became incomparably fragile. Under the influence of the shattering power, They were like fragile glass that would shatter with a touch. Facing such terrifying power, the expressions of Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the other immortal orthodoxes changed drastically, and fear spread. Such power had completely exceeded their understanding, reaching a level that they could not imagine at all. Too powerful. Shattering realm. This was the shattering realm. Could exalted immortal Kui Heng really withstand such power? They looked at Kui Heng with their last glimmer of hope. After all, from Kui Heng's performance, he should also be an expert who had surpassed the 12th Heaven Gate realm. Perhaps he could really withstand this terrifying shattering power. However, when Lian Heng, Qin Tang, and the others looked at Kui Heng, their gazes froze, and the fear in their eyes instantly turned to shock and disbelief. The mighty shattering power actually froze and stopped 30 feet away from Kui Heng, unable to advance at all. Kui Heng and his surroundings seemed to have an invisible defensive light curtain that could easily block this incomparably powerful shattering force. What kind of power is this? It's actually not penetrated and disintegrated by the power of shattering? The Lord of the Heavenly Court could not help but exclaim when he saw this scene, his expression extremely shocked. He had stood at the peak of the 12th Heaven Gate realm for a long time, and he had even touched the shattering realm at one point. Therefore, he had some understanding of the power of shattering, and he knew very well how powerful it was. As the core power of the shattering realm, the power of shattering could not only crush everyone, but even in a battle of the same level, the person who released the power of shattering first would easily have the absolute advantage. Therefore, he thought that the power of shattering was impossible to defend against, and there was no power that could block it. Perhaps an existence of a higher realm could resist the power of shattering, but no one had seen an existence of that level really appear. It was basically equivalent to non-existent. But now, such an existence actually appeared. The shattering power was actually blocked. He was too incredible. Among the remaining 8 people from the 9 heavens, other than Heavenly Venerate Shi, the other 7 all revealed shocked expressions. They looked at Kui Heng in disbelief, almost unable to believe their eyes. He blocked the power of shattering out of thin air. What realm is he at? Why did such an illogical expert suddenly appear here? Under normal circumstances, this is not impossible. This person is actually so powerful. If not for this sudden change, I'm afraid we would all. The 7 heavenly venerates of the outer world fell silent, feeling a little glad. The strength Kui Heng displayed was too terrifying. If not for Lu Qingzhu's sudden appearance and breaking through to the shattering realm, they would have been the ones to face Kui Heng's power. To an expert who could directly block the power of shattering, they were completely ants. They could be crushed to death easily. However, compared to the shock of the many masters of the immortal orthodoxes, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, and the 7 heavenly venerates of the outer world, Lu Qingzhu was more furious. She never expected that Kui Heng actually had a method to easily resist the power of shattering, causing the power of shattering she released to be wasted. She did not obtain any benefits at all. She had never heard of such a powerful technique. Could it be that this person is even stronger than the shattering realm? Lu Qingzhu frowned in her heart. She looked at Kui Heng carefully and roared almost crazily in her heart. No, I don't believe it. This is impossible. 1. I painstakingly schemed for millions of years and faked my death for hundreds of thousands of years. I also obtained the help of many parties, intentionally or unintentionally, before finally reaching my current achievements. What rights does such a fellow have to suddenly appear and completely resist my power without any effort? Why? However, the anger and fear in her heart were ultimately just her inner feelings. As the former paragon of the plague sect and now a shattering realm expert, Lu Qingzhu would not easily reveal her true thoughts. After discovering that her attack was fruitless, she did not continue attacking. Instead, she looked at Kui Heng with a solemn expression and said in a low voice, "Your divine powers are really amazing. If I hadn't been able to resist your strange power, you wouldn't have been exclaiming." Kui Heng chuckled and shook his head. He said indifferently, "I have some questions." Now doesn't seem to be the time to talk about questions. Lu Qingzhu smiled. "I think it is," Kui Heng said with a serious expression. "Do you really want to fight me?" Lu Qingzhu asked in a low voice. She admitted that she really could not do anything to Kui Heng, but she did not think that Kui Heng could do anything to her, much less harm her life. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com 2. This was because after reaching the shattering realm, not only could one shatter the external appearances, but they could also shatter themselves, causing their body and soul to be between a shattered and complete state at any time, as if they were between reality and illusion. This was because after reaching the shattering realm, not only could one shatter the external appearances, but they could also shatter themselves, causing their body and soul to be between a shattered and complete state at any time, as if they were between reality and illusion. This way, a shattering realm expert would have an indestructible body and soul. Even if a shattering realm expert was beaten to the point of their body and soul being destroyed, they would not be able to erase the mark left behind between reality and illusion. As long as this mark still existed, they could reform their body and soul over the long years and fully revive again. Due to these factors, in Lu Qingzhu's opinion, in a sense, as long as one stepped into the shattering realm, they would almost have the characteristics of being undying and indestructible. She was in the shattering realm now and her life would definitely not be in danger. But just as Lu Qingzhu was feeling so certain, Kui Heng, who was still smiling, suddenly moved. He lightly slapped in Lu Qingzhu's direction. In an instant, the weather changed, sand and stones flew, and the sun and moon dimmed. The great Tao laws of the world actually all appeared, and countless light belts crisscrossed the endless void again. At the same time, an incomparably huge pressure instantly enveloped the entire heaven realm and quickly spread to the myriad worlds below. At the same time that this pressure spread, Kui Heng's dharmic powers also spread out, enveloping Lu Qingzhu. Lu Qingzhu immediately felt her entire body freeze, as if she was frozen there by some strange power and could not move at all. Shatter. She made a prompt decision to shatter her body and soul and directly transform into an existence between reality and illusion. This was Lu Qingzhu's strongest life-saving method. She directly used it. Although she did not think that Kui Heng could harm her life, for the sake of caution, she still decided to use her strongest life-saving method. To prevent any accidents from happening. Such a battle situation was completely beyond everyone's expectations. Whether it was the 7 heavenly venerates of the outer world, the lord of the heavenly court, or the people behind Kui Heng, they were all very puzzled. Was Lu Qingzhu forced to use her final life-saving method? This was a shattering realm expert. She was already using her life-saving methods. However, just as Lu Qingzhu was about to shatter herself, before she could heave a sigh of relief, she felt a strange power spread around her, actually distorting her shattering power. Immediately after, she was incomparably shocked to discover that the power of shattering was stopped. It had lost the characteristics of being able to shatter the appearance of matter. This also meant that the power of shattering was only a powerful force. She would not be able to rely on the characteristics of the shattering power to shatter her body and soul, so she naturally could not enter that state between reality and illusion. Her life-saving methods were ineffective. She could only be frozen there by Kui Heng and not move at all. Who exactly are you? Lu Qingzhu was horrified as she stared at Kui Heng in disbelief. You distorted the laws and changed the laws of the great Tao, preventing the power of shattering from activating. What kind of divine power is this? Just now, Kui Heng's soul formation dharmic powers had directly distorted the laws and modified the dharma and logos, causing the power of shattering to no longer have the ability to shatter. This was completely beyond Lu Qingzhu's understanding. How could there be any power in the world that could modify the power of shattering? This was the power of shattering. Even an existence higher than the shattering realm could not directly make the characteristics of the power of shattering disappear, right? This almost overturned Lu Qingzhu's understanding of cultivation. It was simply unbelievable. It's just a small trick. Kui Heng shook his head gently and smiled. It's nothing. Actually, to him, that was indeed the case. When he was resisting the shattering power just now, he had already determined Lu Qingzhu's strength. Although she had rather strong soul formation characteristics, her physical body was much weaker. Moreover, her power was relatively simple. She could basically be treated as an early-stage soul formation cultivator who had been weakened by many levels. If Kui Heng had encountered such an expert when he had just broken through to the early-stage soul formation realm, it would have been relatively troublesome for him to deal with. It would most likely have taken him 3 to 5 seconds. However, the current Kui Heng had actually already reached the peak of the early-stage soul formation realm. He was only one step away from the mid-stage soul formation realm. To the current him, someone like Lu Qingzhu who was at the shattering realm. Thank you for reading on my box novel. He lightly slapped in Lu Qingzhu's direction. 1. In an instant, the weather changed, sand and stones flew, and the sun and moon dimmed. The great Tao laws of the world actually all appeared, and countless light belts crisscrossed the endless void again. At the same time, an incomparably huge pressure instantly enveloped the entire heaven realm and quickly spread to the myriad worlds below. At the same time that this pressure spread, Kui Heng's dharmic powers also spread out, enveloping Lu Qingzhu. Lu Qingzhu immediately felt her entire body freeze, as if she was frozen there by some strange power and could not move at all. Shatter. She made a prompt decision to shatter her body and soul and directly transform into an existence between reality and illusion. This was Lu Qingzhu's strongest life-saving method. She directly used it. Although she did not think that Kui Heng could harm her life, for the sake of caution, she still decided to use her strongest life-saving method. To prevent any accidents from happening. Such a battle situation was completely beyond everyone's expectations. Whether it was the 7 heavenly venerates of the outer world, the lord of the heavenly court, or the people behind Kui Heng, they were all very puzzled. Was Lu Qingzhu forced to use her final life-saving method? This was a shattering realm expert. She was already using her life-saving methods. However, just as Lu Qingzhu was about to shatter herself, before she could heave a sigh of relief, she felt a strange power spread around her, actually distorting her shattering power. Immediately after, she was incomparably shocked to discover that the power of shattering was stopped. It had lost the characteristics of being able to shatter the appearance of matter. This also meant that the power of shattering was only a powerful force. She would not be able to rely on the characteristics of the shattering power to shatter her body and soul, so she naturally could not enter that state between reality and illusion. Her life-saving methods were ineffective. She could only be frozen there by Kui Heng and not move at all. Who exactly are you? Lu Qingzhu was horrified as she stared at Kui Heng in disbelief. You distorted the laws and changed the laws of the great Tao, preventing the power of shattering from activating. What kind of divine power is this? Just now, Kui Heng's soul formation dharmic powers had directly distorted the laws and modified the dharma and logos, causing the power of shattering to no longer have the ability to shatter. This was completely beyond Lu Qingzhu's understanding. How could there be any power in the world that could modify the power of shattering? This was the power of shattering. Even an existence higher than the shattering realm could not directly make the characteristics of the power of shattering disappear, right? This almost overturned Lu Qingzhu's understanding of cultivation. It was simply unbelievable. It's just a small trick. Kui Heng shook his head gently and smiled. It's nothing. Actually, to him, that was indeed the case. When he was resisting the shattering power just now, he had already determined Lu Qingzhu's strength euro. Although she had rather strong soul formation characteristics, her physical body was much weaker. Moreover, her power was relatively simple. She could basically be treated as an early-stage soul formation cultivator who had been weakened by many levels. If Kui Heng had encountered such an expert when he had just broken through to the early-stage soul formation realm, it would have been relatively troublesome for him to deal with. It would most likely have taken him 3 to 5 seconds. However, the current Kui Heng had actually already reached the peak of the early-stage soul formation realm. He was only one step away from the mid-stage soul formation realm. To the current him, someone like Lu Qingzhu who was at the shattering realm. The moment this daoist appeared, the entire heaven realm trembled. The moment this daoist appeared, the entire heaven realm trembled. The mountains, rivers, sky, earth, void, and laws actually showed signs of collapsing. It was as if the entire heaven realm could not withstand his existence and was about to explode. What kind of majestic power was this? Whether it was the Lord of the heavenly court or the 7 heavenly venerates of the outer world, they all looked at this figure in extreme shock. At this moment, they even felt as if the God of creation had descended again. There was actually such a powerful existence in the world. When heavenly venerate Shi and Lu Qingzhu saw the man in the daoist robe, they heaved a sigh of relief. It was as if as long as this man appeared, all the crises would be easily resolved. Behind Kui Heng, Hui Shi, Pei Qingshu, Li Mingqiong, Zheng Nanxuan, Li Mingcheng, and the others all revealed expressions of disbelief. They almost could not believe their eyes. They had all seen this daoist-robed man before. To be precise, they had seen the statue of this daoist before. In the Daoi Palace on Daoju Star. This was the Dao God, the limitless golden immortal who had descended to Daoju Star in the wilderness 10,000 years ago with 36 golden immortals, established the Daoi heavenly court, enlightened all living beings, and opened up the Daoju Star civilization. It was him. How could it be him? At this moment, the man in Dao attire who appeared was shrouded in an incomparably majestic galaxy. The aura and pressure he emitted made the entire heaven realm tremble. This was definitely an expert who had surpassed the 12 heaven gate realms. He might even be above the so-called shattering realm. How could it be the Dao God? How could it be that limitless golden immortal? Kui Heng was also staring at the daoist and said with a smile, "No wonder I've never sensed a powerful existence like you in this star field. So you're from the edge of the star sea." Although he still looked relaxed on the surface, he was actually fully vigilant in his heart. He was more vigilant than ever. With his current cultivation close to the mid-stage soul formation realm, the range of his divine sense was already extremely huge. It was enough to cover every corner of this star field, and he could also sense the situation at the edge of the star sea. Therefore, the moment the man in the daoist robe flew into this star field from the edge of the star sea, Kui Heng already knew where he came from and sensed his cultivation realm. It was far above the shattering realm displayed by Lu Qingzhu and heavenly venerate Shi. It had truly reached a level comparable to the soul formation realm, and it even surpassed him, when he had just broken through to the early stage soul formation realm. Although this was only on the level of strength, and his essence of life might not be equivalent to a soul formation expert like Kui Heng, and the exact strength depended on the strength of spells, divine powers, and other methods, this was indeed the first time Kui Heng had encountered an expert so close to him in strength. When he first left the beginner's space, he was at the grand completion golden core realm. At that time, the strongest person he met was only equivalent to the peak of the foundation establishment realm. Even when he went to the heavenly void world, the strongest person he met was only a limitless golden immortal whose strength was comparable to the grand completion golden core realm. Moreover, he had already reached the nascent soul realm at that time. The sages and sage kings he encountered later on only had some nascent soul characteristics at most. They were far inferior to true early-stage nascent soul cultivators. Even the so-called creators and Dao lords were only at the early-stage and mid-stage nascent soul realm. At that time, he was already at the late-stage nascent soul realm. There was no need to mention the lords of the heavens he encountered later. At that time, he was already at the peak of the nascent soul realm and had stepped onto the path to the soul formation realm. The 12 heaven gate realms were also similar. For the 12 levels and 3 heavenly ladders, even if one reached the end of this path, they would only have some soul formation characteristics. However, the daoist who appeared now was different from all the other experts. He was really on the same level as Kui Heng. Although there were differing depths and strengths in the same realm, this was indeed his first encounter with someone on the same level. This naturally made Kui Heng take him extremely seriously, and his heart was incomparably solemn. He did not know what divine powers this person had, what spells he knew, what Dharma treasures he possessed, what divine weapons he had, nor did he know if this person had any strange secret techniques or secret treasures. He had to be 120% focused. As long as he attacked, he had to do his best and not hold back at all. At the same time, the appearance of this person made Kui Heng feel glad again. The system's judgment of this world was indeed right. It was indeed a high-level Xianxia space-time dimension. Fortunately, he had always been cautious and kept a low profile. That was why he only met an expert of the same realm as him. Otherwise, he would have long been reduced to ashes. While Kui Heng was sizing up the Daoist was also sizing up Kui Heng. His gaze was deep and dark, like a black hole that could absorb everything. Now, it was all focused on Kui Heng. A moment later, the Daoist suddenly said in a low voice, "Your power is very strange. I've never seen a cultivator like you. It's very strange. Are you Tai Hong's backup plan? Should I call you Dao God or Wang Zhuyuan?" Kui Heng asked instead of answering. He smiled and said, "I didn't expect the legendary sage Daoi to have such a cultivation realm. Dao God. Wang Zhuyuan?" The Daoist was slightly stunned when he heard this. Then, he smiled and said, "So you've come into contact with him before. That's normal. Actually, that's just one of my thousands of incarnations. You can call me Wang Daoi. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. Wang Daoi, you're really the founder of the Daoi Palace and the Daoi sect," Kui Heng said thoughtfully. "What's the relationship between this heavenly venerate Sure, Lu Qingzhu, Zhu Juntian, and the others and you?" "Wang Daoi, you're really the founder of the Daoi Palace and the Daoi sect," Kui Heng said thoughtfully. "What's the relationship between this heavenly venerate Sure, Lu Qingzhu, Zhu Juntian, and the others and you?" Wang Daoi frowned slightly, but he quickly smiled again. His dark eyes stared at Kui Heng and he said with a smile, "It's been a long time since anyone spoke to me in such a tone. I've always spoken like this." Kui Heng said with a smile, "Please answer my question." "Ha ha ha, interesting." Wang Daoi laughed loudly. His pitch-black eyes narrowed slightly as he chuckled. "I can't kill you because of the innate indestructible spiritual light I sensed from you, so I won't attack you. You don't have to secretly prepare any techniques. You can't hide it from me." The reason why Kui Heng had this conversation with Wang Daoi just now was partly to confirm if Wang Daoi was an enemy or a friend, and partly to prepare his spells. However, Wang Daoi was an expert at the same realm as him after all. His eyes seemed to have something special about them, and they actually saw through his hidden preparations. Moreover, the fact that Wang Daoi dared to point it out so directly meant that he was extremely confident in his strength and was not worried that Kui Heng could hurt him at all. "Oh!" The smile on Kui Heng's face did not fade when he heard this, and he did not reveal any panic. He gently raised his right hand, and his 5 fingers swayed very agilely. He smiled and said, "But there's no indestructible characteristic on your body, nor does your soul have an indestructible characteristic. I can kill you." Through their short conversation just now, he was completely certain that even if Wang Daoi was not an enemy, he was definitely not a friend. Such a powerful non-friend. It was equivalent to a huge threat that could erupt at any time. A gentleman did not stand under a dangerous wall. Hence, the moment Kui Heng finished speaking, 5 extremely powerful spells erupted from the 5 fingers of his right hand. 5 elements: primordial chaos yin-yang reversal technique, great heavenly demon yin fire art, heavenly thunder origin magnetic divine light, 5 thunder heavenly heart technique, law and order. In an instant, the sky of the 9,000 heavenly regions turned into grey chaos. All the great Tao laws fused into this vast chaos. Outside this chaos, the concept of the world was blurring. The boundless land began to become superficial and actually showed signs of turning into turbid air. Under the influence of the 5 elements primordial chaos yin-yang reversal technique, the heaven realm actually showed signs of returning to its primordial state. If things were allowed to develop, the heaven realm might really fall into destruction. But this was only the beginning. After this grey chaotic void was formed, countless lightning and flames lit up. It was like lightning and fire condensed in the chaos, possessing incomparably terrifying power. Wang Daoi did not even have the chance to react before he fell into this chaotic space. He felt an unprecedented dizziness inside, and even his divine sense became extremely dazed. In the past, no one who had suffered from Kui Heng's attack could escape unscathed. In fact, no one could escape from this chaotic space. Wang Daoi was different. His cultivation realm was extremely high. After experiencing the initial dizziness and trance, he quickly woke up. A trace of surprise flashed across his eyes, but he still said with a smile, "Good techniques, good divine powers." Boom! The lightning that contained primordial chaos power ruthlessly struck Wang Daoyi's body, enveloping his entire body. At the same time, the primordial yin fire ignited from the soles of his feet, wanting to burn his soul to ashes. At the same time that the lightning and yin flames attacked, streams of origin magnetic immortal light attacked him. The laws in the chaos were also crazily rejecting him. Even Kui Heng, when he had just broken through to the early stage soul formation realm, would be tired of dealing with such a series of spell attacks. He would not be able to find a way to break through them in a short period of time. However, Wang Daoyi did not panic at all. Whether it was the lightning or the yin fire, they could not hurt him at all. A faint green light lit up from his heart and instantly enveloped his entire body, directly resisting the lightning, yin fire, and origin magnetic immortal light. Even the nomological power that suppressed him was affected by this layer of green light and could not advance at all, as if it continued to suppress him. The power of this layer of green light had clearly exceeded the level of an ordinary early-stage soul formation cultivator and had reached the mid-stage soul formation realm. Its essence was no weaker than the current Kui Heng. Buzz! An ear-piercing trembling sound rang out, and the entire chaotic void immediately shook violently. The lightning and yin fire were actually dispersed, and the origin magnetic immortal light scattered in all directions. The nomological suppression was directly shaken away. The green light that originally lit up on Wang Daoyi's chest suddenly shone brightly and rushed out, revealing an ancient bronze mirror with exquisite patterns. Boom! A loud bang that shook the entire heaven realm exploded. A huge pillar of light erupted from the bronze mirror, actually piercing a hole in the chaotic void that led to the vast universe. Interesting, but it's only SOSO. Wang Daoyi shook his head and chuckled. His figure swayed slightly and disappeared from the chaotic void, arriving in the starry sky of the universe outside the heaven realm. However, as soon as he appeared here, he realized that Kui Heng had already arrived. He was forming hand seals with both hands and waiting for him. As expected, Kui Heng stared at the bronze mirror and laughed loudly. Good Dharma treasure. From the beginning, he had noticed that Wang Daoyi had a powerful spiritual opportunity on him. It was very likely a powerful Dharma treasure or divine weapon. Its power was unfathomable and was a huge threat to him. Therefore, the goal of using the 5 elements primordial chaos yin-yang reversal technique and other spells at the beginning was not to trap Wang Daoyi. Instead, he wanted to force Wang Daoyi to take out his divine weapon or Dharma treasure. Hence, when Wang Daoyi rushed out of the primordial chaos void with this bronze mirror, Kui Heng's new spell was already prepared. Weapon suppression technique. Kui Heng's hands emitted balls of golden light that instantly wrapped around the bronze mirror, imprisoning its power. At this moment, more golden light condensed into a golden seal that was more than 100,000 feet tall above the bronze mirror and suddenly smashed towards it. You want to snatch my artifact? Dream on. Wang Daoyi did not panic in the face of this situation. He opened his arms and shook his 10 fingers. He sneered and said, "Disciple of Taihong, I'll let you see what a true Holy Land divine technique, a king's technique, and true martial arts are." An incomparably terrifying power immediately erupted from Wang Daoyi's body, causing the stars in the universe to tremble. Then, they quickly flew towards him. At this moment, Wang Daoyi seemed to have transformed into a black hole that wanted to absorb everything in the universe. His entire body emitted an incomparably huge suction force. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of thousands of stars gathered and turned into light fragments that were held in his hands. In the next moment, his fists bloomed with endless light. With these hundreds of thousands of stars as the fuse, he completely released the power in his body. The green light shone brightly, actually illuminating most of the star field. At this moment, countless galaxies trembled. The great Tao laws of the entire starfield were triggered, and an unprecedented commotion swept through the entire starfield. This was the first time such terrifying power had appeared in this starfield, and it was also the first time it had appeared in front of the living beings of this starfield. Such unbelievable power made the thoughts of countless experts stop and they could no longer think. It was too powerful. At this moment, Kui Heng was standing in front of Wang Daoyi, facing this terrifying power that was enough to sweep through the star field and shake the star sea. This was also the first time he had faced a powerful attack. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. A green light that was enough to illuminate most of the star field bloomed, and the great Tao laws in this star field trembled. A green light that was enough to illuminate most of the star field bloomed, and the great Tao laws in this star field trembled. Encircled by the green light, two incomparably dazzling silver pillars of light condensed and burst out from Wang Daoyi's fists with shocking power. If anyone could look at the scene here from the starry skies of the universe, they would be able to see two streams of starlight wrapped in green light crossing the void. They shone with billions of lights, illuminating the dark and deep universe. This was no longer a power that ordinary living beings could understand. Even experts who had surpassed the 12th heaven gate realm and reached the shattering realm could not understand this fight. It was too powerful. Moreover, at the same time that the two streams of starlight erupted, countless stars were forcefully sucked over from an endless distance. Stars, planets, interstellar dust, and even those decayed stars were all torn through the void by the power of these two streams of starlight and pulled here, ignoring the distance. Then, the two streams of starlight would devour and refine all the stars that were sucked over, making their strength even stronger. This also caused the two streams of starlight to be greatly strengthened when they arrived in front of Kui Heng. Compared to when it erupted from Wang Daoyi's fist, it was already more than 10 times stronger. The moment these two streams of starlight burst out, the starry sky around Wang Daoyi also underwent a tremendous change. With him as the core, the void that spread out for more than 10 light years had already decayed and shattered. Now, this area was filled with terrifying void storms. Every one of them had the power to instantly destroy stars and galaxies. To experts who had yet to cross the third heavenly ladder, as long as they approached this place, they might die on the spot. Actually, in this vast area with a radius of more than 10 light years, there were originally some galaxies. However, after Wang Daoyi attacked just now, these galaxies were all refined and absorbed by him, turning into the power contained in his attack. From this, it could be seen how powerful the two streams of starlight Wang Daoyi had created were. This was the Holy Land divine technique he had used, a king's ultimate technique, and the true martial Tao he had mentioned. Star Sea Torrent Fist. If he could cultivate this fist technique to the peak, he would have the terrifying power to stir the entire sea of stars and possess unparalleled strength. In other words, it was Wang Daoyi's current realm. Although your strength is indeed higher than mine, there's no fundamental difference in realm. You don't understand the increase in strength brought about by a king's ultimate technique at all. Wang Daoyi raised his chin slightly and looked arrogantly in Kui Heng's direction. He chuckled and said, "I can't kill you with your indestructible spiritual light, but I have countless ways to suppress you and make you suffer a fate worse than death. This is the difference. It's the difference between an unorthodox path like yours and the inheritance of a holy land like mine. You think that your cultivation path is unique, but you've actually deviated from the true meaning of the martial Tao and gone astray." He seemed to be certain that it was impossible for Kui Heng to stop these two streams of starlight. He actually raised his posture and lectured Kui Heng. But in the next moment, the situation changed. Just as the two streams of starlight arrived in front of Kui Heng suddenly moved. He raised his hand and pushed forward gently. The two streams of starlight immediately froze on the spot, as if they were petrified and could not advance at all. Then, Kui Heng shook his hand gently, and dharmic powers infinitely close to the mid-stage soul formation realm suddenly erupted. These two extremely powerful streams of starlight were like fragile ice cubes, instantly dissipating into countless streams of light that flew in all directions. There were no spells or divine powers. It was just pure dharmic powers. Although Wang Daoyi's cultivation was equivalent to the early-stage soul formation realm and was similar to Kui Heng's, there was still a huge difference in the quality of their cultivation. What Kui Heng was really afraid of was the bronze mirror. Now that the bronze mirror had been suppressed by the weapon suppression technique, Wang Daoyi could only use his own strength to attack. To Kui Heng, this was no threat. Even if Wang Daoyi used some kind of Holy Land divine technique or King's ultimate technique, in Kui Heng's eyes, it was just a special method to use the laws of the starry sky. In the eyes of soul formation cultivators, even though similar methods were very powerful, they were filled with flaws. They were far less exquisite than spells of the same level, and they might not even be comparable to nascent soul spells. Therefore, Wang Daoyi's self-proclaimed divine martial techniques were actually not very strong for Kui Heng. Coupled with the fact that Wang Daoyi's cultivation realm was weaker than Kui Heng's, such an attack would naturally be instantly resolved. It was completely useless. What? Wang Daoyi's eyes widened when he saw this scene, and his face revealed a trace of disbelief. What he used was a Holy Land divine power, an ultimate technique. How was this possible? However, before he could react, Kui Heng had already counterattacked. Facing an enemy whose realm was not inferior to his, Kui Heng had long raised his vigilance. He was determined to do his best and would not give the other party a chance to breathe. Therefore, after breaking through the two streams of starlight, he did not stop at all and rushed towards Wang Daoyi. At the same time, his hands instantly formed countless hand seals. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. For a moment, lightning, flames, magnetism, laws, and all kinds of other forces appeared in Kui Heng's palm and attacked Wang Daoyi. For a moment, lightning, flames, magnetism, laws, and all kinds of other forces appeared in Kui Heng's palm and attacked Wang Daoyi. In fact, in order to ensure that nothing went wrong, he even used the Sky Demon Splitter art to increase his strength to the greatest extent and used these spells with his enhanced strength. The power of the spells used under such circumstances was too powerful, directly affecting the great Tao laws of the entire starfield. Hence, every planet and even every corner of this starfield could sense the power of these spells. They might even be able to see the special phenomena formed by these spells. If a genius with extremely high comprehension in martial arts saw this phenomenon, he could immediately comprehend a heaven ascension martial Tao that pointed to the peak of the 21 realms of the immortal and mortal worlds. Facing such a powerful and dense barrage of spells, Wang Daoyi, who had just entered the early stage soul formation realm, had no chance of resisting it. There was a high chance that his body would be destroyed on the spot. However, just as these spells were about to hit him, two treasures with extremely powerful auras flew out from his sleeves. A golden cauldron and a shield. Their essence was actually at the early stage soul formation realm. Although it was not as powerful as the previous bronze mirror and did not have many uses, the effect was very clear. It was for defense. Therefore, these two treasures immediately emitted an endless light that actually blocked the series of spells Kui Heng used, preventing these spells from harming Wang Daoyi at all. However, these two treasures had also paid an extremely painful price. They had lost all their spirituality and become scrap metal. The two peerless treasures that were equivalent to the early stage soul formation realm were destroyed by Kui Heng's series of spells on the spot. However, even though this was the outcome, it bought Wang Daoyi time to escape or prepare. Clearly, he would not escape. Taking advantage of the moment when Kui Heng's spells collided with the two treasures, Wang Daoyi took out another treasure from his waist. This was a 3-foot-long bronze sword which shone brightly. Countless great Tao laws wrapped around it, containing unbelievable power. It was actually another treasure that was not inferior to the bronze mirror at all. Wang Daoyi held his sword and shouted, causing his voice to ring in the starry sky of the universe and for countless living beings in this starry sky to hear him. Clang! 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 A series of sword chimes sounded like a crane crying out in the 9 heavens. It was very clear. This was also a voice on the level of laws, and it was reflected in the ears of every living being. At this moment, countless voices in the star field felt an incomparably dazzling green sword light appear in front of them. It would destroy everything and was invincible. This was the sword light that Wang Daoyi had slashed out. It was not as majestic as the two streams of starlight in front of him. It was just a pure sword light. However, this sword light condensed Wang Daoyi's lifetime of cultivation and all his strength. It was also the strongest attack he could use at his current realm. Hence, after this sword light passed by, the great Tao collapsed, and the void was destroyed. Everything on the physical level dissipated under this sword light and no longer existed. There had never been such a sword light in this star field, nor had anyone encountered such a powerful sword light. Die! Wang Daoyi shouted angrily. His emotions were fluctuating greatly now, and he was far from being as calm as before. Clearly, because his attacks had been broken by Kui Heng one after another, and his treasures had been destroyed, it was difficult for him to suppress the anger in his heart. He wished he could tear Kui Heng into pieces. Actually, at this moment, the sword light that Wang Daoyi slashed out already had the power of this level. Facing such a sword light, even an expert infinitely close to the mid-stage soul formation realm was very likely to be killed. Although it was impossible to really kill a soul formation cultivator with an indestructible true spirit, the experience of being killed once was not a good memory. However, that situation was only targeted at ordinary early-stage soul formation cultivators. Kui Heng was different. Just as the green sword light was about to approach Kui Heng, he suddenly gently pushed the jade crown on his head. Immediately, an extremely pure ball of qi emerged from the top of his head. This ball of clear qi stopped rising when it was 3 feet above Kui Heng's head. Instead, it turned into 100 acres of golden clouds. Countless lights shone brightly in the auspicious clouds, and wisps of chaotic light descended, enveloping Kui Heng's entire body like jade. At this moment, there were auspicious clouds above Kui Heng's head, and chaotic light surrounded his body. Countless lights were also emitting light, making his entire body look like an immortal paradise land. He was like an immortal who had descended into this starry sky. Ding-ling. Suddenly, a bell-like sound sounded in the starry sky of the universe. It was the countless lights on the auspicious clouds that shook at the same time, releasing a sound on the level of laws. At the same time, phenomena began to appear in the lights. They all floated on the 100 acres of auspicious clouds. There was chaotic airflow, cold flames, 5-colored lightning, origin magnetic immortal light, starlight shining, 9 fire dragons dancing, and a huge human-shaped phantom walking. All kinds of spells appeared on this auspicious cloud. These were all spells that Kui Heng cultivated. Of course, there was also the core auspicious cloud mandate, which was the main body of the spell he was using now. Although this spell did not have any power by itself and could only be used to integrate the powers and techniques he had, as long as he fused everything he had learned, the power that erupted was simply unimaginable. Under the integration of the auspicious cloud mandate, all the spells Kui Heng cultivated were gathered together. Thank you for reading on my box novel. The rest will be changed later. 1. Although it was impossible to really kill a soul formation cultivator with an indestructible true spirit, the experience of being killed once was not a good memory. However, that situation was only targeted at ordinary early-stage soul formation cultivators. Kui Heng was different. Just as the green sword light was about to approach Kui Heng, he suddenly gently pushed the jade crown on his head. Immediately, an extremely pure ball of qi emerged from the top of his head. This ball of clear qi stopped rising when it was 3 feet above Kui Heng's head. Instead, it turned into 100 acres of golden clouds. Countless lights shone brightly in the auspicious clouds, and wisps of chaotic light descended, enveloping Kui Heng's entire body like jade. At this moment, there were auspicious clouds above Kui Heng's head, and chaotic light surrounded his body. Countless lights were also emitting light, making his entire body look like an immortal paradise land. He was like an immortal who had descended into this starry sky. Ding-ling. Suddenly, a bell-like sound sounded in the starry sky of the universe. It was the countless lights on the auspicious clouds that shook at the same time, releasing a sound on the level of laws. At the same time, phenomena began to appear in the lights. They all floated on the 100 acres of auspicious clouds. There was chaotic airflow, cold flames, 5-colored lightning, origin magnetic immortal light, starlight shining, 9 fire dragons dancing, and a huge human-shaped phantom walking. All kinds of spells appeared on this auspicious cloud. These were all spells that Kui Heng cultivated. Of course, there was also the core auspicious cloud mandate, which was the main body of the spell he was using now. Although this spell did not have any power by itself and could only be used to integrate the powers and techniques he had, as long as he fused everything he had learned, the power that erupted was simply unimaginable. Under the integration of the auspicious cloud mandate, all the spells Kui Heng cultivated were gathered together. Under the current of the river condensed from thousands of time sabers, Wang Daoi's lifespan quickly flowed away. Under the current of the river condensed from thousands of time sabers, Wang Daoi's lifespan quickly flowed away. When Kui Heng brought him to Daoju Star, he only had less than a day left to live. He was in a state where he could pass away at any time. However, as soon as he arrived near Daoju Star, his vitality began to recover quickly. In the blink of an eye, he recovered 1,000 years of his lifespan. Unfortunately, in the next moment, the river of time washed over and shaved away his recovered lifespan, leaving him with less than a day of lifespan. Immediately after, Wang Daoi's lifespan began to recover, and the river of time continued to wash over him. As this cycle continued, Wang Daoi's lifespan was still maintained at 1 day. Daoju Star is indeed special. I couldn't even sense it in the past. Kui Heng's gaze was fixed on the approaching star with a complicated expression. When he first entered the nascent soul realm, he had investigated Daoju Star very carefully, but in the end, he did not find anything special. Later on, although he also returned to Daoju Star, he did not sense anything unusual. However, as he understood many secrets, he realized that more and more secrets were related to this very ordinary star. Daoju Star was like a star covered in layers of fog. Although one could see the surface of the fog clearly, its true appearance was extremely difficult to pry into. This time, Kui Heng brought Wang Daoi here purely to try and see if there was any connection between Wang Daoi and Daoju Star. After all, the Dao god called Wang Zhuyuan had painstakingly crossed the starry sky to establish the Daoi heavenly court and enlighten all living beings, allowing this place to give birth to a civilization. It turned out that his guess was right. Wang Daoi really had some strange connection with this place. It could even help him recover his vitality and maintain his lifespan. Who exactly are you? Wang Daoi gritted his teeth and said. At this moment, he was already old. His hair was white, and his face was filled with wrinkles. He looked withered like rotten wood, as if he could fall to the ground at any moment and never get up again. I'm just an ordinary cultivator, Kui Heng said indifferently. At the same time, he flicked his finger, and a gap appeared in the river of time, making Wang Daoi's connection with the outside world even stronger. Hence, Wang Daoi's lifespan soared again, but it was still unable to surpass the speed at which the river of time reduced his lifespan. His lifespan was still maintained at about a day. However, this allowed Kui Heng to clearly sense the source of this connection. It was actually in the Daoi Palace in Yongju. Aren't you afraid that I'll use this connection to ask for help? Wang Daoi said in a low voice. If you could really ask for help, you wouldn't have said this. Kui Heng shook his head gently and smiled. Without my permission, do you think this power can find you? Wang Daoi fell silent when he heard this. He gently closed his eyes and said as if he had given up on himself, kill me. Answer some of my questions, and perhaps I can spare your life, Kui Heng persuaded very sincerely. No comment, Wang Daoi said without hesitation. Kill me. I can give you another chance, Kui Heng continued to persuade, but he was interrupted before he could finish. Kill me. Wang Daoi seemed to be determined to die. He completely ignored his own life and death. Kui Heng was silent for a moment before he smiled again. Can you leave this place once you're dead? It's up to you, Wang Daoi said indifferently. Or you can directly use the soul-searching technique and read my memories yourself. You're so fearless, but it makes me think that you're really bluffing. Kui Heng gently touched his chin and suddenly smiled. Why don't I kill you once as an experiment? As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly slapped out. The Five Thunder Heavenly Heart Technique and the Heavenly Thunder Origin Magnetic Divine Light erupted at the same time, instantly enveloping Wang Daoi. Even Wang Daoi, who was at his peak, had to go all out to resist these two spells after losing two supreme treasures, let alone now that he was old and extremely weak. Therefore, with just these two spells, Wang Daoyi was instantly destroyed in body and soul. Not even a trace was left. He should have completely turned to ashes. Only a wisp of true spirit was left. It had yet to be completely destroyed. If Wang Daoyi was an immortal cultivator, no matter how powerful Qiheng was or how many techniques he had left, he could only do this much. That was because even an early-stage nascent soul cultivator's true spirit was indestructible. Only a return to Void Realm expert could completely destroy a nascent soul cultivator's true spirit. Unfortunately, this Wang Daoyi had strength comparable to the early-stage soul formation realm, but he did not have this indestructible characteristic. As long as his true spirit was completely destroyed, he would completely die and no longer exist. He would never have a chance to start over. However, the moment Qiheng destroyed Wang Daoyi's soul, a strange power suddenly surged out of Wang Daoyi's true spirit. The level of this power was infinitely close to the peak of the early-stage soul formation realm. It was not inferior to the current Qiheng at all as it tried to bring this true spirit into the void. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. Facing this sudden change, Qiheng was not shocked but happy. He smiled and said, "You really have a backup plan." Facing this sudden change, Qiheng was not shocked but happy. He smiled and said, "You really have a backup plan." Before he could finish his sentence, an extremely pure colorless light flew down from the auspicious cloud above his head and enveloped Wang Daoyi's wisp of true spirit. Immediately after, an incomparably huge life aura burst out from the colorless light, as if an incomparably powerful life was brewing inside. At the same time, Wang Daoyi, who only had a wisp of his true spirit left, quickly condensed his soul and body again, returning to his appearance before he died. This was directly reviving from the dead. The pure light that fell from the auspicious cloud just now was actually a spell Qiheng cultivated, called resurrection. As long as the other party's true spirit was still intact, he could use this method to revive the dead and let them directly return to their previous state. Even their cultivation realm was preserved. The strange power that enveloped Wang Daoyi's true spirit had already been extracted by Qiheng and imprisoned in his palm. This power was deep and ancient, intertwined with endless laws and great Tao. Even through this power, Qiheng could determine a conclusion. The source of this power should not be weaker than him in terms of cultivation. He was much stronger than Wang Daoyi. "What exactly do you want to do?" Wang Daoyi asked in a low voice. This time, he was really stunned by Qiheng's methods. That level of resurrection just now was completely beyond his imagination. It was simply unbelievable. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. Under the current of the river condensed from thousands of time sabers, Wang Daoyi's lifespan quickly flowed away. 1. When Qiheng brought him to Daoju Star, he only had less than a day left to live. He was in a state where he could pass away at any time. However, as soon as he arrived near Daoju Star, his vitality began to recover quickly. In the blink of an eye, he recovered 1,000 years of his lifespan. Unfortunately, in the next moment, the river of time washed over and shaved away his recovered lifespan, leaving him with less than a day of lifespan. Immediately after, Wang Daoyi's lifespan began to recover, and the river of time continued to wash over him. As this cycle continued, Wang Daoyi's lifespan was still maintained at 1 day. Daoju Star is indeed special. I couldn't even sense it in the past. Qiheng's gaze was fixed on the approaching star with a complicated expression. When he first entered the nascent soul realm, he had investigated Daoju Star very carefully, but in the end, he did not find anything special. Later on, although he also returned to Daoju Star, he did not sense anything unusual. However, as he understood many secrets, he realized that more and more secrets were related to this very ordinary star. Daoju Star was like a star covered in layers of fog. Although one could see the surface of the fog clearly, its true appearance was extremely difficult to pry into. This time, Qiheng brought Wang Daoyi here purely to try and see if there was any connection between Wang Daoyi and Daoju Star. After all, the Tao god called Wang Zhuyuan had painstakingly crossed the starry sky to establish the Daoyi heavenly court and enlighten all living beings, allowing this place to give birth to a civilization. It turned out that his guess was right. Wang Daoyi really had some strange connection with this place. It could even help him recover his vitality and maintain his lifespan. Who exactly are you? Wang Daoyi gritted his teeth and said. At this moment, he was already old. His hair was white, and his face was filled with wrinkles. He looked withered like rotten wood, as if he could fall to the ground at any moment and never get up again. I'm just an ordinary cultivator, Heng said indifferently. At the same time, he flicked his finger, and a gap appeared in the river of time, making Wang Daoyi's connection with the outside world even stronger. Hence, Wang Daoyi's lifespan soared again, but it was still unable to surpass the speed at which the river of time reduced his lifespan. His lifespan was still maintained at about a day. However, this allowed Heng to clearly sense the source of this connection. It was actually in the Daoyi Palace in Yongju. Aren't you afraid that I'll use this connection to ask for help? Wang Daoyi said in a low voice. If you could really ask for help, you wouldn't have said this. Heng shook his head gently and smiled. Without my permission, do you think this power can find you? Wang Daoyi fell silent when he heard this. He gently closed his eyes and said as if he had given up on himself, kill me. Answer some of my questions, and perhaps I can spare your life, Heng persuaded very sincerely. No comment, Wang Daoyi said without hesitation. Kill me. I can give you another chance, Heng continued to persuade, but he was interrupted before he could finish. Kill me. Wang Daoyi seemed to be determined to die. He completely ignored his own life and death. Heng was silent for a moment before he smiled again. Can you leave this place once you're dead? It's up to you, Wang Daoyi said indifferently. Or you can directly use the soul-searching technique and read my memories yourself. You're so fearless, but it makes me think that you're really bluffing. Heng gently touched his chin and suddenly smiled. Why don't I kill you once as an experiment? As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly slapped out. The Five Thunder Heavenly Heart Technique and the Heavenly Thunder Origin Magnetic Divine Light erupted at the same time, instantly enveloping Wang Daoyi. Even Wang Daoyi, who was at his peak, had to go all out to resist these two spells after losing two supreme treasures, let alone now that he was old and extremely weak. Therefore, with just these two spells, Wang Daoyi was instantly destroyed in body and soul. Not even a trace was left. He should have completely turned to ashes. Only a wisp of true spirit was left. It had yet to be completely destroyed. If Wang Daoyi was an immortal cultivator, no matter how powerful Heng was or how many techniques he had left, he could only do this much. That was because even an early-stage nascent soul cultivator's true spirit was indestructible. Only a return to Void Realm expert could completely destroy a nascent soul cultivator's true spirit. Unfortunately, this Wang Daoyi had strength comparable to the early-stage soul formation realm, but he did not have this indestructible characteristic. As long as his true spirit was completely destroyed, he would completely die and no longer exist. He would never have a chance to start over. However, the moment Heng destroyed Wang Daoyi's soul, a strange power suddenly surged out of Wang Daoyi's true spirit. The level of this power was infinitely close to the peak of the early-stage soul formation realm. It was not inferior to the current Heng at all as it tried to bring this true spirit into the void. Facing this sudden change, Heng was not shocked but happy. He smiled and said, "You really have a backup plan." Before he could finish his sentence, an extremely pure colorless light flew down from the auspicious cloud above his head and enveloped Wang Daoyi's wisp of true spirit. Immediately after, an incomparably huge life aura burst out from the colorless light, as if an incomparably powerful life was brewing inside. At the same time, Wang Daoyi, who only had a wisp of his true spirit left, quickly condensed his soul and body again, returning to his appearance before he died. This was directly reviving from the dead. The pure light that fell from the auspicious cloud just now was actually a spell Heng cultivated, called resurrection. As long as the other party's true spirit was still intact, he could use this method to revive the dead and let them directly return to their previous state. Even their cultivation realm was preserved. The strange power that enveloped Wang Daoyi's true spirit had already been extracted by Heng and imprisoned in his palm. This power was deep and ancient, intertwined with endless laws and great Tao. Even through this power, Kui Heng could determine a conclusion. The source of this power should not be weaker than him in terms of cultivation. He was much stronger than Wang Daoyi. What exactly do you want to do? Wang Daoyi asked in a low voice. This time, he was really stunned by Kui Heng's methods. That level of resurrection just now was completely beyond his imagination. It was simply unbelievable. The moment Kui Heng broke through the shackles of his realm, the essence soul in his Niwen palace opened its eyes again. The moment Kui Heng broke through the shackles of his realm, the essence soul in his Niwen palace opened its eyes again. Layers of purple-gold divine light bloomed from his essence soul, instantly expanding the boundless starry sky that appeared in the Niwen palace countless times. Moreover, it became more real, as if it was a real starry sky. At the same time, the boundless starry skies in the acupoints in his body began to expand and condense. In the blink of an eye, the number of starry skies in each acupoint exceeded the total number of starry skies in all his acupoints at the peak early stage soul formation realm. The quality had also increased countless times. The changes in his Niwen palace and the acupoints on his body caused Kui Heng's entire body to begin to sublimate to the extreme. His body, dharmic powers, and essence soul began to improve by leaps and bounds. In just a few breaths, his dharmic powers were countless times stronger than before, and his body had become stronger. It was enough for him to withstand the power of the entire starfield's explosion without being injured. Such a drastic change in Kui Heng's body naturally triggered an earth-shattering phenomenon in the outside world. At this moment, the phenomenon appeared first on Daoju Star. At the same time that Kui Heng's essence began to sublimate to the extreme, the originally calm Daoju Star was immediately enveloped by an incomparably bright purple-gold light. The great Tao laws also became exceedingly clear, and it could even be said to be visible to the naked eye. As long as a martial artist had reached the Xiantian realm, their realms would soar under the illumination of this purple-gold light. Many people broke through 7 or 8 major realms in a row and immediately reached ascension. Especially the disciples of Daoyi Palace. Because Kui Heng broke through here, the disciples of Daoyi Palace received the greatest blessing. In the blink of an eye, more than 1,000 sage kings appeared. The current sect master, Zhu Hongyi, was originally in seclusion to cultivate, striving to break through before his lifespan was exhausted. Unexpectedly, he encountered Kui Heng's breakthrough and was raised to the Tao Lord realm on the spot. This was already the peak of the 7th realm of the immortal world. What just happened? Zhu Hongyi sat cross-legged in Daoyi Palace. His eyes were wide open, and his face was filled with shock. His entire body was covered in cold sweat. He looked down at his hands and felt the surreal power in his body. He finally confirmed again that he had really broken through. He had broken through to a realm he did not understand at all. Currently, there was no inheritance above the Sage King realm in Daoyi Palace. The reason why Zhu Hongyi became a Tao Lord was only because of the phenomenon of Kui Heng's breakthrough, causing the cultivation realm in his body to sublimate. After the initial shock, Zhu Hongyi barely calmed down and walked out of Daoyi Palace. Then, he saw the purple-gold light that filled the sky. He remembered where he had seen such a situation before. Suddenly, Zhu Hongyi thought of the source of the purple-gold light and where this incomparably powerful aura came from. Greetings, immortal venerable Kui. At the same time that the Daoyi Palace underwent a tremendous change, several figures from the Immortal Dawn sect on Tsungching Mountain interrupted their seclusion and walked to the group of young disciples. Perfected Zhu Qing, Liu Yiyun, Chen Ying, and the others walked out. To the young disciples of the Immortal Dawn sect, they were already legendary senior experts. Now that they suddenly appeared, they immediately attracted a series of kowtows. The current sect master asked them if they had come out because of this world-shaking phenomenon and even asked them what kind of existence could cause such an unbelievable phenomenon. They did not explain further and only bowed to the purple-gold light that filled the sky. Greetings, ancestral grandfather. The first to be affected by Kui Heng's breakthrough phenomenon was not only Daoju Star, but also the heavenly void world that had already become a subsidiary space of Daoju Star. Under the envelopment of the purple gold light, the essence of the heavenly void world began to sublimate to the extreme. The great Tao of heaven and earth became more complicated, and space became more stable. It could contain more and stronger living beings. Hong Yong, who was at the center of the heavenly void world and controlled the authority of the great Xia heavenly court, had also obtained an extremely huge improvement. Even the many gods under him had become countless times stronger. As a god personally conferred by Kui Heng, Hong Yong naturally knew very well what was going on with this phenomenon. He was incomparably amazed. Immortal Venerable's cultivation realm is really becoming more and more unfathomable. In fact, the phenomenon caused by Kui Heng's breakthrough was extremely huge. While the living beings on Daoju Star were affected, these phenomena had already ignored the distance in space and appeared in every corner of this star field. As long as one was a living being in this galaxy, they could see the purple gold light and obtain comprehension from it to increase their cultivation realm. It could be said that Kui Heng's breakthrough had directly brought a huge opportunity to all the living beings in the star field. Countless living beings benefited from it. Moreover, this purple gold light did not stop spreading after enveloping the entire star field. It was still spreading to other star fields, wanting to cover more range. Now, if anyone could stand from the perspective of the star sea, they would be able to see that the purple gold light had completely enveloped one of the 6 cantilevers and was still spreading to the other cantilevers. It was as if it wanted to dye this star sea purple gold. However, there was a huge barrier between the star fields. Even the great Tao laws were different between different star fields, as if they were different worlds. Thank you for reading on my box novel. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.